malaka rito leri hangalakeke na misava hinkwayo ri haxa mbewu ya vutlhari xana imani anga ku miyetaka ke imani anga miyetaka mpfumawulo wa rito ra ku ke 3 to 6 yi tshama yi ri etindleve eka SAFM hikuva u yi phamela swakudya swa miehleketo hi dya yi tlhela hi xiva ndzi ri halala Aldrin Sampear halala wena la tselekiweke eswitikweni swa vutlhari a katingiwa etimbiteni ta vutivi a sekiwa hi galaza ra vutshila loko ri mina ntombi ya mutongo n'wa xambula makhutlo wa madyafula ri la tsundzuka n'wana hi ku heta ndzi ku hluvulela xihuku ndzi ri kula u ringana na ndlopfu halala Aldrin Sampear halala
Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 9 minutes after 3 o'clock. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for choosing SAFM BTH 3 to 6 with me, Aldrin Sampear. We're with you from now up until 6 o'clock. So coming up on the show this afternoon, we look at the CPI figures that have been released by Stats SA a bit earlier on. So there's been a slight increase to 5.9%. So we'll be speaking to Davi Ruet about this. And of course, we have this conversation ahead of the Monetary Policy Committee's announcement on the interest rate, which will be announced tomorrow by the Reserve Bank Governor, Lisitja Kganyago, and also considering that 5.9% is really on the higher bound of the Reserve Bank's target of between 3 to 6%. So we'll be speaking to David Ruet about that. He'll be joining us at 4:10. And then also on the show this afternoon, we speak to Dr. Khalid Kadoni, who is the spokesperson for Hamas. So Israel and Hamas have reached a truce deal, and can it really hold? So a 4-day truce deal that will allow for humanitarian aid, and also there will be exchange of the prisoners. This is now the Palestinian prisoners that are being held in Israel, and then in return Hamas will be releasing 50 women as well as children in that particular exchange. So we'll be speaking to Dr. Khalid Kadomi, who will be joining us at 3 for that conversation about the deal. And then also on the show this afternoon, we speak to the former Eskom executive Matjela Koko. This is after the regional court in Middelburg struck off the roll the case that has been brought against him and 18 others. This is now in the NPA's case against him and 18 others in relation to corruption, alleged corruption at Eskom. That conversation is actually coming up in the next short while. We'll be speaking to Matjela Koko about that, and also the impact that all of this has had, because as the judge has said as well, is it almost seems that the NPA is using the court as a warehouse instead of completing their investigation. So that conversation coming up in the next short while. And then also coming up on the show this afternoon, we speak to Professor Guy Migley, acting director at the School for Climate Studies at Stellenbosch University. At Stellenbosch University, scientists have warned that 2023 will be the hottest year to date. And yesterday I was in Mapungubwe and it was 43 degrees Celsius.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, we're in conversation next with Matjela Koko, the former Eskom executive. We understand that the National Prosecuting Authority's investigating directorate will reinstate Koko's case as soon as outstanding aspects of the investigation are completed. It is public knowledge now that the case against Koko and some 18 others accused was struck off the roll in the Middelburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court due to delays in completion of investigations. However, those speaking outside the court after the verdict yesterday, Koko blamed the NPA for trying to destroy his family, and he now join us on the line. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good afternoon, Adrian, and good afternoon to your listeners too.
Nearly 24 hours after the matter was struck off the roll, how has life been for you since that particular moment?
Dreadful. That's how I can describe it. When I look back, I ask myself the question, why was I arrested on the 27th of October 2022? I still can't answer that question. The court could not find a decent answer for that question. Why was my family and I woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning, driven to Middelburg, more than 200 kilometers away, presented ourselves in court, And then the NPA asked for 500,000 rand bail, restrains my movement within Gauteng. They did not allow me to leave Gauteng. They took my passport. They asked me to report to the police station every week before between 8 and 4 o'clock. And 12 months later, I still don't know why I was arrested. That's hateful. That's hate crime.
Okay, you're calling it hate crime. The state, through the NPA at least, still arguing that they do have a case against you and the 18 others. But for now, of course, there are the outstanding investigations that they still need to be concluded. But the court also saying that the NPA can't use the court as a warehouse when they have not completed their investigation.
The court says, Aldrin, the magistrate gave a very lengthy judgment. The magistrate says this was an investigation-led arrest. It's not a typical arrest where you are stopped on the side of the road and get arrested. It was an investigation-led arrest. The investigation took place for more than 5 years. The state made an election to arrest me on October 27, 2022. That's a difference. It's an investigation-led arrest. So now they say we will come back when we're ready. Why did they arrest me? Why didn't they wait to arrest me? Aldrin, when they arrested me, they also had a search and seizure warrant. Not only did they arrest me, on the same day they arrested me, they spent 6 hours in my house, searching my house, seizing every other thing that was on the search warrant. And in the search warrant, there's a line there that says we are searching your house in the event that we find the evidence. In the event, underline it. That's in the search warrant. It means by the time they arrested me, they did not have the evidence to arrest me. And by the way, the magistrate made a ruling yesterday. He says the NPA has told me that they've arrested Mr. Koko and his family and his accused because they had time of fasting, reason to do so. And the magistrate says, I don't believe you. You did not have it. That's a judgment of the court. The court says the NPA arrested me and my co-accused without cause, without valid reason to arrest me. So why did they arrest me? Whose bidding were they doing? Who were they doing them a favor for? So now they say we will come back. It's fine. I said to my lawyers, they must tell the court that they must come back when they are ready. But you know what the court said? It says before you come back, you must have a certificate from the NDPP to come back. It means he's simply saying, I no longer trust you. The investigative directorate has done a bad job. That the only time the NPA must come back, it must be the NDPP, not them.
Yeah. So on that also, now that the NDPP is also involved in this matter, do you have any intention whatsoever of making representations to the NDPP on why this case should not go ahead?
We will take the matter as it comes. What South Africans must remember is that when I was sitting in the dock and I was asked by one journalist, I think I forgot his name, and I said to him, the NPA have been set up to fail. And it is because of that I have no worries. And let me tell you, I know this case, I know the evidence of this case. You can give them 100 years. They will come back and there will be an embarrassment. Once again, the charges against me are very serious.
Yeah.
Justice cuts both ways. Imagine yourself and your wife and your law-abiding citizens listening to the charges leveled against the former executive of ESCOM that is subjecting you to load shedding today, that is making 24 billion in loss. They are entitled to answers on the serious allegations against me. The indictments that those answers cannot be answered because the investigative directorate, just like in Ulani, did not do their job. And it's wrong to say they don't have resources. When in court, the court took the ID to task because the NPA told the court that Werksman Attorneys is now in America making statements for the NPA. The court asked them, how is it possible private lawyers are in America making statements for you and you are in court today, but you are going to sign those affidavits?
Okay. Just quickly in conclusion, do you remember the affidavit that was penned by Gott Diederik Wolf, the former ABB South Africa Business Unit Manager, who became a Section 204 witness? And in that affidavit, he argues that actually you had a role to play in ZAABB winning the CNI tender. What's your response to that?
Aldrin, you know, I take issue with the media for misrepresentations. What is the most important thing that Wolf says in the affidavit that you are quoting, that you are not telling your readers, your listeners? Wolf says, I don't know Mr. Koko. I have never met him. I can't vouch for what I am saying. That's what he says. He does not know Mr. Koko. He's never met Mr. Koko. And he can't vouch that Mr. Koko was involved in what you just explained. It's in black and white.
Well, he says that there was a conversation that was had, and he was also told that Koko would be easily to be identified at this particular event that was taking place, because he would be the only colored person there. I guess in that particular case, meaning the only black person there. So
no,
what? Sorry?
Aldrin, you are quoting an email from Marcus Bregerman. That is the email from Marcus Bregerman who says, look for Koko is in Germany. It's not involved. So let's quote.
Yeah, that's a reference to it, right?
But what's criminal about that?
But
Aldrin, you are attributing statements to Wolf. You are attributing Marcus's statement to Wolf. An email from Marcus says to his colleague in Germany, please find Mr. Koko. He's the only colored guy. Let's have a meeting with him. That's Marcus in Germany.
Yeah.
And it's not Wolf. You are attributing that state to Wolf. And I am saying to you, that email I have seen, and what is wrong with it? And that is why the NPA is struggling, because you are trying to criminalize conversations that are not criminal. What is wrong in Marcus Bregerman sending an email that says there is an international conference? Mr. Koko is going to be in that international conference. Let's find him and have a meeting with him. Look for him. He's a colored person. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. What was the intention then behind that, according to your understanding?
He's an executive. He's an engineer. It's an international conference of engineers. That's why you bring the engineers together in an international conference, so that they can talk to each other, compare notes on engineering issues. What is wrong with it?
Was the tender discussed at all?
No.
Okay.
There was not even a tender at the time.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. That is Matjela Koko, who is the former ESCOM executive there, on the matter that has now been struck off the roll by the Middelburg Specialized Commercial Crimes Court due to the delays in completion of the investigation, and this is now on the part of the NPA.
SAFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng. The theme of the lecture is constitutionalism and upholding the rule of law in South Africa. Has corruption and malfeasance eroded the moral fabric of the democratic dispensation? The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana.
It's another cover-up for the president to not do anything about corruption. all talk shop, but we never actually see anything actually ever being implemented.
We don't know who they're investigating. We don't know who they're prosecuting. We don't know who's going to jail.
That council is useless. So you're asking him about the developments, what have they done? He is just beating about the bush.
That's just a sense, Prof. Kachalia, of what our listeners have to say about the conversation. Let me give you an opportunity to respond to some of those concerns.
We are not as a council able to address that trust deficit, but we're going to keep our attentions focused on the job at hand. I've indicated where I think their progress is being made and where progress isn't being made. I can't do more than that.
Professor Feroz Kachalia, the chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday. If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Just 25 minutes now after 3 o'clock. Let's go to this story next. Cameroon is pleading with several hundred French-speaking civilians who fled the Bayern-Mem, a French-speaking village, after suspected English-speaking separatists on a Tuesday infiltrated and killed 13 people, injured dozens, and abducted scores of civilians to return home. The military says it has deployed troops to protect the civilians. Channel Africa's Moki Kinzeka has that story.
Cameroon government officials say in the early hours of Tuesday, about 80 heavily armed men attacked Baminyam, a cosmopolitan locality in the Central African state's French-speaking West region, killed 9 people, injured many, and abducted scores. The assailants came from the neighboring English-speaking Northwest region, where English-speaking rebels have been fighting to carve out an independent English-speaking state called Amazonia since 2017, officials said, adding that the attackers came in over 30 motorcycles. Our Fonka Augustine, governor of Cameroon's West region, where Baminyam is located, says the death toll may have increased.
There was exchange of fire between them, and the gendarmes who were at the brigade fought vigorously. And at the end, we've registered 3 gendarmes who are wounded. And on the side of the terrorists, we're still searching to know the effect on their own side. We want to sincerely thank the population and especially the Vigilant Committee, because the Vigilant Committee played a very active role. They gave vital information about the movement of these terrorists, and that's what guided the gendarmes to take position and to be able to face the assailants.
Civilians told Channel Africa that 4 corpses were discovered in the nearby bushes on Wednesday morning. Local officials say they are in search of abducted persons. The military on Wednesday said it deployed troops to search for and kill fighters who refuse to surrender and drop their weapons. Fonka says the government is pleading with several hundred civilians who have escaped to safer areas to return home. He says civilians should collaborate with the military to make French-speaking towns and villages that share a border with the English-speaking Northwest region safe.
The population of the West region are calm and serene. We are conscious of the fact that we have challenges. We are handling it. Because from the point of view of security, with the incursions of the separatists, the military strategies have been revised. The population now are more conscious. Their collaboration is visible. The vigilant committees have been activated. They are in place. And the population generally now very alert. Peace is invaluable. It's necessary for all of us, for whatever thing we are doing.
Attacks on French-speaking regions are regular as rebels step up their drive to create a breakaway state. The government says at least 60 deadly separatist incursions have been reported in the West region since 2017. Whenever the attackers come, they torch houses, loot, and abduct civilians. Reporting for Channel Africa, this is Moki Kinzaka in Yaoundé, Cameroon.
#SAFMBTH.
It is 28 minutes after 3 o'clock. Let's quickly go to a parliament where we speak to our parliamentary correspondent, Mercedes Besent. Just a quick update on the disciplinary hearing against the EFF6. And this is by the Committee on Ethics and Members' Interest. I think it's by the Privileges Committee. I'll get Mercedes Besent to quickly just explain that. But the 6 of them have now been sanctioned, so they will not be allowed to attend the 2024 SONA next year, and will be dock pay for 1 month. Mercedes Besent now joining us on the line. Mercedes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Just quickly give us an update on what happened here.
Oh, yes, indeed. The committee has taken that decision. And let me just say who they include of the 6. It includes also Julius Malema himself, Roy Chibambu, Marshall Dlamini, and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, as well as Vuyani Pambo. So what is actually going to happen now is that there are sanctions that they have been slept with. It's basically this kind of sanctions. They will be suspended from Parliament for a month, and that will be from the 1st of February until the 29th. But this must still go to the National Assembly, for final approval. So a report will be drafted and it will be sent there to the National Assembly. They are also ordered they will be ordered, that's if it is approved, to actually apologize to the President, to the country, as well as others have to apologize to the Speaker. So we will bring this at the top of the hour.
So more on the top of the hour, the EFF is intention to go to court as well.
Yes, indeed, and they are going on Monday to court.
Thank you so much for your time. That is SABC News parliamentary correspondent there, Mercedes Besent. As he indicated, you'll get more details at the top of the hour. For now, it's time for the news headlines. It's 3:30.
Thank you, Aldrin. In your headlines, International Relations Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor is this afternoon representing President Cyril Ramaphosa at a virtual G20 Leaders Summit. The global platform is currently chaired by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A criminal case has been opened against 4 grade 10 learners from Christian Devet Combined School in the Free State who allegedly burnt 13 grade 8 boys with hot knives and spoons as part of an alleged hostel initiation last week. Chairperson of the school governing body, Ntamane Ntamane, says a grade 12 learner reported the incident to the school. And a police officer has been arrested in Cape Town on a charge of corruption and for allegedly helping a suspect escape from custody. The 26-year-old constable is attached to the Belha SAEPS. I'll have details on these and other stories at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And let's see what's happening on the roads with Rob Byrne. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It is heavy on the N3 north in Joburg. A stationary truck inside Galuli's interchange on the link to the N12 eastbound. So coming up from Heldenace through Van Buren, that's all a heavy backlog. The N1 north through Midrand, just starting to queue towards the New Road exit as well. Durban has been another day with a series of breakdowns in the roadworks between Umgeda and Spaghetti Junction. There is another as we come to you live, and that traffic queuing all the way back through to Inanda Road. Southern Freeway's heavy from Kongela all the way down to the M7. That's probably roadworks. That's been busy all day today. And some queuing traffic on the N2 South, just approaching Amanzamtoti as well. And then Cape Town, here's a bit of a surprise that you won't be used to if you normally go into town on the N1 this time of day. Some roadworks just by Lower Church Street in the Woodstock area. That's pushed traffic back through Marine Drive and is queuing Marine Drive through Pardon Island to get into that N1 inbound queue. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Dumi Nkgapele.
And it's great to be back in studio with Dumi. Good afternoon.
Welcome back. Hey, a traveler.
How much did you miss me? It's okay.
I always miss you, Aldrin. I feel like next time you must just take me with, okay?
Must tag along, eh?
Yeah.
And when you do your OBs as well, will you ask me to come and join you as well?
I shall. A very good afternoon to you. Hope you're doing well this afternoon. Let's get straight to sports, starting off with football. Bafana head coach Hugo Bruce has called for FIFA and CAF to rethink allowing the Hughes Stadium to host games after being forced to play on a waterlogged artificial pitch. According to Bruce, Bruce, an international match should not be played in challenging conditions such as yesterday's pitch. The surface lacked drainage, posing significant hurdles for Bafana. Bafana went down 2-0 to Rwanda, ending their 12 unbeaten game run. Meanwhile, SuperSport United head coach Gavin Hunt has defended Bruce, believing that the Belgian deserves respect and support locally. While Bruce has met with Hunt and TS Galaxy coach Siad Ramovic, Hunt is adamant that Bruce should have the attention of all Premier League coaches.
Yes.
Yes, and how did that go?
Fantastic. We exchanged, he told me what his thinking is. He asked me about players, and I gave him my opinion, because it's only about opinions, players, what I think, what I don't think, and he's a fantastic guy. And a guy like that, we should be tapping into his knowledge. He's more knowledgeable, he's been around older than all of us. He's played at the highest level, played at a World Cup, he's played at the top level, he's coached teams at one, and I don't think we respect him enough. And I don't think we give him the time of day enough. And I think it's been a bit disrespectful of what's happened to him, what I hear. And then he told me a few stories, and I was very disappointed, because we shouldn't be like that.
Elsewhere, England manager Serena Wichmann believes that Beth Mead is in a good place after being included in the squad for the Lionesses' final Nations League fixtures. Mead returns to the squad for the first time since November 2022 after recovery from an ACL injury.
No, she did that months ago. Of course, that's really nice. She's played minutes. She's in a good place and still building too. But yeah, that was a very nice phone call, and she was very happy. Yeah, well, we've had conversations all the time. So we had conversations before September camp, or during, or before and after, and so did we in October too, because she was already fully training and getting some minutes, but I just wanted to see a little more, and that's what we have seen now. And she's just her health is really good, so she can just go. And she showed, of course, in games that she's in a good place, and of course we want to keep her, that she keeps growing and improving. But she's shown enough for me and for my technical staff to bring her in.
In netball, the Spar Proteas will travel to the United Kingdom next week, Monday, where they will play Scotland in a practice match before taking on England in a 3-match test series in December. This will be the third time that these two nations meet up. They met in January during the Quad Series, drawing once and England winning their playoff match. England have all the bragging rights as they are yet to lose against South Africa this year. In rugby, the Sharks are participating in 16 days of activism to raise money and awareness to tackle GBV. Now, from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, for every tackle the Sharks make over 3 matches played during this period, money will be raised through Tackle Pledge and donated to non-profit organizations that assist women and children who are victims of GBV. Then finally, in tennis, Finland stunned defending champions Canada to reach the Davis Cup semi-final. Both sides had their top-ranked players missing due to injury. For Finland, Emil and Felix Auger-Aliassime for Canada. Finland went 1-0 down in a tie after Milos Raonic claimed a 6-3, 7-5 in the first rubber. It's the first time in the nation's history that they've reached the last 4, where they will go head-to-head against Australia and Czech Republic. On that note, it's a wrap from my side. For SAFM Sport, I'm Dumeng Khapele.
#SAFMBTH.
So Sharon at office was telling me the way drip is so expensive these days. She's now waiting for her old clothes to come back into fashion. I said, Joza, while you're waiting, why not let your money do the things in a Nedbank Just Invest account, where you can get your money after 24 hours notice? Oganchani voiceman.
Injalo, Mabel. Earn up to 9% interest. Anyone can open an investment account via the Money app in under 2 minutes. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's on the interest rates apply.
Hallo Michelise, hope you well. Listen, I went to this car heaven place We Buy Cars with Henriette to sell the caravans and the jet skis she must now got from the divorce, because she's never going onto the Vaal River again, she says. So We Buy Cars bought it from her for a great price. Nobody, you should tell your husband to sell all of those project cars and take you to the Maldives. Or just give them a call, because they come to your house and then they buy your car somewhere so on the spot where they're so gerieflik.
We Buy Cars, the best place to sell your car by far.
Nottingham Forest welcome their visitors, Brighton and Hove Albion, with warm hands, but insist the valuable 3 points will remain at City Ground.
And beats it first time, it's a brilliant goal! Elanga hits.
However, the Seagulls are not willing to part ways with maximum points, as they prefer a position in the top half.
The dinger is in, what a run, what a goal!
This is the Premier League. Catch the glittering clash between Nottingham Forest and Brighton and Hove Albion on Saturday, 25 November at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
It is 21 minutes now before 4 o'clock. Coming up a bit later on, we'll be in conversation with Fufe Makatong, who is the MEC for Public Works in the Northern Cape. And this is after the Chief Financial Officer of the Department of Roads and Public Works was suspended on a precautionary suspension. This is after he was found in possession of at least 600,000 Rand in cash in his car. We'll speak to the MEC about that. And then at just before 4 o'clock, we'll speak to Professor Guy Midgley, who is an acting director at the School for Climate Studies at Stellenbosch University, looking into why the year 2023 is set to become the hottest year to date. 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032.
The incompetence from the MPA doesn't mean he is scot-free. Doesn't mean there's nothing going on there. Eskom has been through corruption and malfeasance for the longest time. I can never forget an interview Coco had with Carte Blanche with regards to that signature. He said that it's not his, and then he gets it now that he's. I will never forget that. So before we jump up and down, let's get credible people, competent people in MPA and go after everyone.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. You know, I was really convinced that Matsila Koko, Brian, and others, they have something to answer in court. But so far, I'm started to doubt this NPA. It seems as there is something fishing, something which we don't know, because they can't arrest somebody without evidence for a long time like this. It seems as our country is really failing. Thanks.
Yeah, it's also about the credibility of the NPA dealing with the so-called state capture cases. Mbuyiso is joining us from Soweto. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Aldrin. Afternoon to the listeners. Aldrin, you just have to marvel at Machela Koko's brilliance. And I suppose that's why most of the so-called independent journalists do not want to interview him. He speaks to the facts. He knows his story. He puts facts on the table.
Mbuyiso, are you still there? Mbuyiso? Hi, Mbuyiso, can you hear us? Okay, we're struggling with that line. Okay, we'll try to get back to you a bit later on, Mbuyiso. 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Let's speak next to the MEC for Public Works in the Northern Cape, that is Fufe Makatong. The Northern Cape Department of Roads and Public Works has placed its Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, on precautionary suspension after he was allegedly found in possession of at least 600,000 rand cash in his car. The MEC for Public Works in the province says the allegations are being taken very seriously. Hence, she has decided to suspend the CFO. The MEC now joining us on the line. MEC, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. So what information do you have at your disposal around why the CFO had 600,000 rand in cash in his car?
Good afternoon, Aldrin, and to your listeners. We would not really have any knowledge of why the CFO would have had an amount of money in his car during office or hours for that matter. What we picked up, or the report that we received, was that the police during a roadblock on Thursday confiscated an amount of approximately 600,000 from him during office hour, and that's all we know. The other thing that we know that the police they have opened an inquest. That's the report that the CFO has confirmed that they opened an inquest, and he was expected, I think, yesterday, to provide proof to the police that it's his own money. So where we are, as the Department of Roads and Public Works in the Northern Cape, those are the details pertaining to the amount of money. We really do not know where the money comes. I think the CFO is the only person that would be in a position to explain that. What we did as the Department of Roads and Public Works through the accounting officer, taking into account the seriousness of the allegations, the CFO was then placed on a precautionary suspension pending an investigation. And an investigation we are referring to here is an investigation from within our system, where he also needs to explain why would he have such an amount of money in his car during
MEC, my apologies. The line isn't clear. We're going to try and see if we can get you on a different line. Seem to be struggling with the lines today. We're going to try and get back there to the MEC for Public Works that is in the Northern Cape. And this is following, of course, this incident that has taken place where the CFO of the Department of Roads and Public Works was found in possession of 600,000 rand in cash by police, as the MEC has explained, while they were conducting a roadblock, and this happened last week. And in the statement that has been issued now by the MEC, which I'd like the MEC to explain as well, her department, it says that the suspension is precautionary in nature, pending both internal review and external investigations into potential transgressions of financial protocols and codes of ethics for senior managers. Just to explain that as well, and perhaps maybe before putting him on precautionary suspension, was he at least given an opportunity to explain where the 600,000 rand in cash came from? That conversation coming up next. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
#SAFMBTH. Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime with SABC TV Licenses Ultimate Competition. Feel the pulse-pounding excitement of a Bundesliga match live on an all-expenses-paid journey you'll never forget. Or embrace the rhythm of your dreams at the Coachella Music Festival. The choice is yours. A football fan's paradise or a music lover's haven. Simply pay your TV license, then head to www.winnerholidaywithsabctvlicenses.co.za for a chance to win big. And don't forget, there are incredible weekly prizes up for grabs too. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of lights being switched off to reduce the impact of load shedding. Eskom is encouraging you to use less electricity at all times by switching off electrical appliances and lights that are not in use. Cell phone chargers, TVs, and decoders still use electricity if they're not switched off at the socket. You see, if we all switch off what is not in use, our combined efforts could help reduce the impact of load shedding. Let's work together by switching off to reduce load shedding.
Have you ever noticed how unique the rugby ball is?
You should check out Head High.
The rise of junior rugby stars Mana and Tai.
Vince is not just their stepfather, he's their coach.
Catch the brothers' dream of the black jersey, Head High, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
Rugby Drama Galore. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
Okay, let's now go back to the MEC for Public Works in the Northern Cape, Mefufe Makatong. MEC, we're still explaining what happened after the roadblock.
Okay, thank you, Aldrin. The report that we've got was that the CFO, an amount of about 600,000 was confiscated during a roadblock on the M12 just outside Kimberley last week on Thursday. And that's all we know as the Department of Roads and Public Works in the Northern Cape. And so the police have opened an inquest, and the report that I also got was that the CFO was given a deadline of yesterday to prove to the South African Police Services that he owns the money. So that's where it is. I haven't received any report on how that process unfolded. We will be communicating also as soon as we got the details. But from our side, the HOD has decided to place him on a precautionary suspension pending a disciplinary investigation from within our processes.
Yeah. Was there confirmation from him to the HOD that indeed there was 600,000 rand cash that was found in his car?
Indeed, he did confirm that there was money. That's the report I got.
Okay.
That there was money and that it is his money.
So he says that it is his money.
Yes.
Was there an explanation at least to the HOD why there was 600,000 rand in cash in his car?
I don't think the HOD would have gone to that extent to try and get an explanation, since that very same explanation was to be given to the South African police by yesterday.
Yeah, because in the statement that was issued by your department, it says that the suspension is precautionary in nature, pending both an internal review and external investigation into potential transgressions of financial protocols and codes of ethics for senior managers. What is it that the CFO in this particular case would have transgressed when it comes to the code of ethics as well as the potential transgression of financial protocols?
Look, Aldrin, I think the chapter 4 of the handbook for chief financial officers is very clear on the ethical standards that senior managers, including the CFO, will have to display at all possible times. And I think it's within that context that the HOD then extrapolated specifically these clauses where it is expected of the CFO to always behave in such a manner.
Not necessarily to say that it is illegal to have that money.
Not that it is illegal, yes. For us, what is important is that as far as I know, if the CFO is engaged in any extra remuneration kind of work, I cannot remember of any additional remunerational work, a permission that he has that perhaps can warrant for him to have such a money, in his possession. We do not know at this point why he would have such amount of money in his possession.
Yeah. And just in conclusion, MEC, have there ever been any allegations of corruption perhaps that have been brought against the CFO that you know of before? Allegations,
no,
just allegations?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
Not at all.
Okay.
No.
So pending the precautionary suspension now and the investigation, how long do you think the internal investigation will take, or will you depend on the police's investigation?
I don't think there's any need for us to depend on the investigation from the police. And I think this, in the statement, when we say both internal and external investigations, that's where it ends with the police in terms of the external investigation. But it would be very difficult for me to just indicate how long that can take. But I know for sure that the HOD has started a process of a disciplinary investigation within our system.
Thank you so much for your time. That is the MEC for Public Works in the Northern Cape, Fufe Makatong, on the suspension of the CFO who was found with 600,000 rand in his car. And as you just heard there, that he did tell the HOD that indeed there was 600,000 rand cash in his car and that was his money. And as the MEC then points out that she doesn't know of the CFO having any other work. This is now work where he gets paid outside of him being a CFO.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
It is now 6 minutes before 4 o'clock. Let's speak to Professor Guy Midgley, Acting Director at the School for Climate Studies at Stellenbosch University. As South Africa continues to experience more heat waves, scientists have warned that 2023 will be the hottest year to date, with the record high temperatures observed on land and in sea since records began in the mid-1800s. Joining us now to explain why 2023 will be the hottest year to date, Professor Guy Midgley now joining us on the line. Prof, good afternoon, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Not at all. Thanks for having me. It's real fun to be on your program. Thank you.
Thank you. Why are we experiencing such adverse weather, especially when it comes to the heat waves?
It's a combination of two main things. The first is the well-known El Nino effect, which tends to lead to warmer oceans in certain parts of the world, and in general a warmer planet, because the oceans stop absorbing energy that would normally keep the planet a little bit cooler. And the second effect is the long-term warming due to greenhouse gases, which have been warming the atmosphere, but which have also warmed the oceans much more than, with much more energy than the atmosphere. Something like 90% of the effect of global warming is to be found in the oceans, in warmer water in the oceans. It's a huge amount of energy that is being stored up in the oceans, and that makes things much worse when we do have an El Nino year such as we're having.
And what is it that you have picked up since the start of this year?
Well, a big proportion of the world's oceans are in a state which is called a marine heat wave. So the surface waters are very, very hot. And as I said, the normal function of the ocean in a non-El Nino year would be to be quite efficient at absorbing energy out of the atmosphere, which helps to cool our atmosphere. But that's not happening. And so we get more accumulation of heat in the atmosphere. We get more water vapor, which causes increased intensity of storms, more extreme weather events, heat waves, flooding. And these sorts of events propagate out from the tropics into the subtropics. And they cause, it puts the planet in a state, you could call it a kind of a climate chaos, sort of a chaotic climate with a lot of extreme events popping off all over the planet.
And which parts of the world or continents are mostly affected?
Well, every El Nino is different. So the weather never repeats itself. That's just the nature of weather. But so it depends from El Nino event to El Nino event what happens. But what's happened this year is that with the additional heating in the oceans, it's now really starting to take its toll. This accumulated heat due to global warming. We're now really starting to see the effect of this combination of things. The last time we had such a serious El Nino was probably 1998, so quite a while ago, and that was the hottest year on record. And it's almost certain that this year is going to be the hottest year on record, and we could well breach for this year the 1.5 degree warming mark that is seen to be over the long term, a safe level of warming for the planet. So we're already into that dangerous territory.
And looking at the report by Climate Central, it says there, with a 22-day streak of extreme heat, Houston, Texas stands out with the longest streak amongst these cities. Is there any reason that that particular area is affected that much?
As I said, every El Nino is different, and every week, every month, every year is different. But what you tend to find is the warm records, more and more hot records are being broken, and fewer cold records are being broken. So the planet's temperature regime is shifting higher and higher and higher. But there's some very worrying things going on with respect to sea level rise. The Antarctic is experiencing far more rapid melting than scientists ever thought we would see this soon. And similar things are happening in the northern hemisphere. We're also seeing a rise in atmospheric methane, which is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And figuring out what's driving that rise is worrying. And then on top of it all, we have issues relating to heating caused by better control of pollution, which has reduced sulfur concentrations in the atmosphere, which would normally cause cooling, albeit cooling through reflection of the sun's rays back into space. So the reduction in pollution has the unwanted effect of causing more global warming.
Wait.
So
pause there, Prof. You're saying the reduction...
So the reduction of pollution by aerosols, by things like smokestacks.
Okay.
And those, so not the CO2. The CO2
right.
causes warming, but I'm talking about small sulfate particles that get that move up into the atmosphere and stay in the atmosphere for a while and actually reflect sunlight back. Like contrails from aeroplanes.
Mm-hmm.
That helps to reflect sunlight back into space. And as we start to control that negative pollution, it has the unwanted effect of also adding a little bit to the warming. So this is a very complicated issue.
It does sound complicated.
Of course, we want to control pollution. Yeah. But all these things have to be taken into account.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Guy Mitchley, the Acting Director at the School for Climate Studies at Stellenbosch University. It is 4:00 time for the news with Leanda Maume.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Thank you, Aldrin. In your top stories, a parliamentary committee sanctions EFF MPs and a police constable nabbed for alleged corruption. This is SAFM News. A very good afternoon. The Powers and Privileges Committee has recommended that the 6 EFF MPs should be slapped with a 1-month suspension from Parliament without pay, effective from the 1st of February next year. The affected MPs include Party Leader Julius Malema, Floyd Shibambu, Marshall Dlamini, Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and Vuyani Phambo. The committee is expected to draft a report with the proposed sanctions, which will be tabled before the National Assembly for final approval. The EFF MPs were found guilty of gross misconduct and contempt of Parliament after storming the stage during President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address in February this year. The hearing was held in absence of the affected EFF MPs, with Advocate Anton Katz as the initiator. All the sanctions are similar. Here's how Committee Chairperson Violet Suela read out the penalties against Malema.
The penalty with respect to Mr. Malema is that in order to apologize to Parliament, to the President of the country and the people of South Africa in terms of Section 12, subsection 5C, physical in person in the House. And then again, another order is suspension of the members without remuneration for a month starting from the 1st of February to the 29th of February 2024 in terms of Section 12, subsection 5D and with Section 12, subsection 9.
International Relations Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor is this afternoon representing President Cyril Ramaphosa at a virtual G20 Leaders Summit. The global platform is currently chaired by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The G20 brings together the world's major economies to push for global economic stability, sustainable development and climate change mitigation. Kylie Khumalo reports.
Among other key objectives, G20 leaders want reforms for more impactful multilateral development banks to address 21st century global challenges. The summit is set to provide updates on key commitments, especially as the world leaders have pledged to undertake collective actions aimed at fostering sustainable production and consumption patterns. They will place emphasis on digital public infrastructure in driving sustainable and inclusive growth. India's G20 presidency has redirected its focus from women empowerment to women-led development, encompassing economic and social empowerment and ensure women's food security and well-being. Khailehle Khumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
A criminal case has been opened against 4 grade 10 learners from Christian Divet Combined School in the Free State who allegedly burnt 13 grade 8 boys with hot knives and spoons as part of an alleged hostel initiation last week. Chairperson of the school governing body, Ntamane, says a grade 12 learner reported the incident to the school after discovering one of the burn victims on Monday. The 13 boys were apparently afraid to report the bullying to the school. Ntamane says the school has informed the parents and is also taking disciplinary action against the 4 boys. Ntamane says a similar incident occurred last year.
They were afraid to report this to either to the hostel father, even the principal, because they were told if this can be reported, you are all in danger, especially at the end of the year by the grade 12s. But the school really takes steps if they can be reported. Then last year we do have this kind of a problem, and those learners were removed from the hostel, and then we also tells them that the bullying or this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated in school.
The Ehlanzeni District Municipality in Mpumalanga is conducting an assessment of the damage caused by the storm that hit Mbombela and surrounding areas yesterday. Heavy rain accompanied by strong winds uprooted trees, damaged houses and flooded some roads in the CBD, Matafin and Barberton. The Ehlanzeni Municipality says preliminary reports suggest that more than 30 houses have been damaged and some families are without shelter. Spokesperson for the municipality, Laki Ngomane, says families in distress are being assisted.
Our members of the Disaster Management Center here, they are still on the ground. But what they have picked up thus far is that about 34 houses, roofs were blown away by the wind. And due to the invisibility of the street, at least 2 cars they were involved in an accident in that storm. Now, in other places, actually, we have sent some members of our communities to actually be our eyes. But for that, for now, we're going to say it's just a preliminary report we have, and our people are on the ground still currently.
And finally, a police officer has been arrested in Cape Town on a charge of corruption and for allegedly helping a suspect escape from custody. The 26-year-old constable attached to the Belha SAPS. Police spokesperson Joseph Swadboy says the suspect was arrested on a charge of fraud. While in detention, the suspect was allegedly approached by the officer who requested him to pay 1,000 rand to help him escape. Swadboy says the suspect escaped but has since been rearrested.
After a thorough investigation, the case docket was submitted to the Department of Public Prosecution, upon which a warrant of arrest was issued and duly executed on Monday, the 20th of November. The SAPS member is scheduled to make his court appearance in the Bellville Magistrate Court on Wednesday, the 22nd of November, on a charge of corruption and aiding and abetting in escape from lawful custody.
Recapping your top story, the Powers and Privileges Committee has recommended that 6 EFF MPs should be slapped with a 1-month suspension from Parliament without pay effective from the 1st of February next year. For SAFM News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 4:30.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Orlando Pirates suspends launch until the 12th of December. CAF Confederations Cup voyage giving Hunt sleepless nights, and Lerena and Gashi meet for interim WBC title. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, the run through Midrand stays busy between Buccleuch and the New Road exit. That's on your way through towards the Pretoria area. Also broken down vehicle before Rigel Avenue, having left Pretoria, so some queuing pressure there as you come down from the Atterbury Road side through Garsfontein. 4 ways is being load shed, so that will just be busy over the next couple of hours. Multiple routes likely to be busy, including Winnie Mandela Drive coming out of Bryanston through the 4 ways area. Durban still with the breakdown into south at Spaghetti Junction. That traffic is growing back past Inanda Road. M4 Southern Freeway, queues from the CBD city centre exit from the Esplanade all the way down to some restrictions down by the M7 Bluff exit. The N2 South through Monsam-Toti remains busy. And Cape Town, good news if you're driving inbound. The two-lane closure on the N1 at Woodstock heading into the city centre has been lifted and that traffic flow has normalised. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Mzansi, we thank you for what you did yesterday, today, and what you will do tomorrow to meet your tax obligations. By submitting your income tax returns on time and keeping your personal and banking information up to date, you have made your tax matters daily matters. Our gratitude as SARS is immeasurable. We thank you for contributing to our country's prosperity. Visit sars.gov.za to keep your details updated. Your tax matters. SARS at your service.
This special acknowledgement goes to Hollywood Bets.
Your heartwarming support gave millions of South Africans a thrilling experience during the Rugby World Cup France 2023.
The vibration that moved the nation.
Salute Hollywood Bets.
Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice Mogoeng. The theme of the lecture is constitutionalism and upholding the rule of law in South Africa. Has corruption and malfeasance eroded the moral fabric of the democratic dispensation? The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10 past 4.
10 past 4. Bah, bah.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It's 10 past 4 coming up on the show in this hour. We speak to Howard Ndaba, who is the spokesperson for the Department of Education in the Free State, as you just heard in the bulletin now, about a school where they have this initiation for grade 8 learners who have now suffered burn marks. And this is part of the initiation, which gets done at these schools. I don't know if you've went to any school where there was initiation and what type of initiation was done. Okay, Kanya has a hand up. I don't know what type of initiation was done. Maybe from your end, if you've had any experience with regards to that, or perhaps maybe you've heard about your child going through initiation. But sometimes the thing about the initiations that happens at schools is that they tend to be with the purpose of humiliating. I remember when I was still in high school, I think grade 8. Didn't happen to me, but I just heard about it. And that is where they would take some pupils and they would force them to drink water from the toilet. So water from the toilet, they would force those kids to drink that water, and that's part of initiation. So I'd love to hear about your experience around this, and can you see how violent it can become as well, where children then suffer burn marks. So we'll be speaking to Howard Ndaba about that. And then at 20 past 4, we speak to David Rutt, who is an economist, as we look at the CPI figures that have been released by Stats SA, which come in at 5.9%, a slight increase. And of course, it is at the upper end of the Reserve Bank's target of between 3 to 6%. So that conversation coming up, and this of course ahead of the MPC's announcement tomorrow on the repo rate. And then at 4:45 we speak to Bettes van der Weyer, who is a general manager for MTN SA, as we look at MTN's Superflex package.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Afternoon, SAFM listeners, Aldrin Sampear from Bloemfontein. I'm really disappointed in our government. I'm really disappointed. When a black person tried to prosper
or educated black person, you have to be suppressed. What they're doing to Matala Koko and Brian Molefe, it's unfair. The guys were doing quite well at ESCOM, there was no load shedding. You know, when you are a black person, you will always be suppressed by some minority that they don't want you, and then they will always find something that will distract the system. Now look what is happening to Mr. Matalako, one of the brilliant engineers. Look what is happening. They drag him to court, no evidence, no nothing. This is really poor admin from our government. I really don't know what to do in South Africa anymore. This place, shame.
Aldrin, Katlego in Cape Town. On the issue of the CFO, you remember you once had an interview with somebody from the Hawks and you asked about what if there was a robbery somewhere and money was then flowing in the air and it fell into your car. She insisted that you would still be found or it would be held responsible if you keep that money. Maybe the CFO as well passed by a cash heist and 600,000 just flew into the car. So maybe that's the same explanation, that he didn't steal it, nor was it his, but it is his on the basis that it just fell into his car and he saw a CIT vehicle being bombed.
A whole 600,000 rand cash. But yes, the CFO says, according to the MEC at least, and what he told the HOD, is that that 600,000 rand cash is really his. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032. Somebody was actually dropped an X a bit earlier on, saying that perhaps with the case of the CFO, here it is, Funzo saying that it was not a perfected transaction. The CFO has nothing to answer for. Remember the perfected transaction? And this is in relation to the Para 580,000 US dollars that was stolen from the president's Para farm, and the Reserve Bank in its investigation finding that there's nothing wrong that happened because after all the transaction was not perfected.
Aldrin Sampear.
Why the people in life running after money?
Just a quick one, Colonel. So if I get on the scene and there's money that's floating around and I take that money, am I guilty of a crime? Or am I committing a crime?
Yes, you are committing a crime. That's not your money.
And it's just floating in the air.
It is not your money, Aldrin. It's supposed to be part of the money that was going wherever it was going or being taken back to the depot.
What happens if it floats into my car and I'm driving a convertible?
It's still not your money. As a law-abiding citizen, you should take it back to the car.
It's wrong to assume that everybody's running after money. It is just that.
Hashtag SAFM-BTH.
It's 16 minutes after 4 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Howard Ndaba, who is the spokesperson for the Department of Education in the Free State, that has released a strongly worded statement on initiation practices and bullying in public schools. This is after a social media post depicting bullying of a grade 8 learner surfaced where the learner had visible burn marks. It has been discovered that it is part of an initiation practice for learners living at the border hostel. 13 other learners have been found with similar burn marks. To help us unpack what interventions have been made thus far, Howard Ndaba is now joining us on the line. Howard, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. So, with your preliminary investigation, have you found that that this is part of the initiation practice that happens at the school?
Well, good afternoon, Aldrin, and good afternoon to your viewers, and thanks for having us. Yes, indeed, the investigation started yesterday because this incident happened on Monday the 12th, Sunday the 12th, Monday the 13th, and Wednesday the 15th. And that covers all 13 boys that were banned. So it was only brought to our attention yesterday, and then we started the investigation. Yes, I can confirm that the investigation has confirmed that indeed all these 13 learners, including those who have banned the other 4. In fact, there were 17 in all. 4 of them were the culprits. They themselves have been banned.
And what's the school management saying about these incidents and what they know about it?
Well, I was at the school today. I met with the principal. I met with the SGP. What they are saying, firstly, is that they were not aware of this practice. But secondly, they are saying these boys, when they were asked, why did you allow this to happen to you? The boys said they were afraid because what is happening, the grade 10, they're the one who meted out this gruesome act to the grade 8 learners. So what they do, they'll come to you if you are a grade 8 learner. They will say, look, you better come now to be banned with the knife or with the spoon, because if you don't come, grade 12 will come with the iron, with a more gruesome object that will burn you. So it was an issue of a better David in this case, because they were afraid to be banned by iron, because apparently when the grade 12s are doing this, they will do it in a more severe way.
And the hostel matrons, what do they know about these?
Well, this thing, the way it was brought to our attention is that it was brought by one of the hostel prefects who also reside in a hostel. And then when it has the other fellow learner, then that learner was issued and said, no, you are hurting me. When he looked at that, then he discovered that this learner was banned. Then the learner explained that this is how I was banned. Then that matter was reported to the hostel father. Then the hostel father reported to the principal. The principal reported to the second manager, the HGP, and the department. And we have met with the school now. We have developed a plan as to how to curb this. One of the plan that we have recommended to them is that they must also make sure that they amend or revise their the school code of conduct, including the hostel code of conduct, where we include we ban any initiation or ritual that will be done by the learner. But we are also recommended that there should be at least a suggestion box where a learner can anonymously put there and complain about whatever kind of bullying that they are facing. Because this, if you look at it, it's even more than bullying. What we have done is to open the case, criminal case. These 4 learners will also be facing a disciplinary action next week.
Yeah. And do you know whether the victims are willing to testify in the criminal matter?
Well, we can't confirm as to all of them, but what we're engaging their parents so that they are the one also who are taking this matter forward. Our side was to inform them and to recommend to them that they must go to the law enforcement. We hope that all of these learners will cooperate, because this is a criminal activities and it should not be allowed to anyone in the society.
Yeah. Outside of the 13 that you have now discovered, do you know of any former students of this boarding school that have come forward to also give more information and evidence around what's happening at the school?
This will form part of the scope of the investigation. We will also investigate that to check as to are there any learners outside who have left the school. But another dynamic in this, we have not found any evidence that girl learners are also facing the same treatment, because there's no all of these victims and the perpetrators are boys. So our investigation will also look as to whether the girls are also subjected to this and which grades are affected. Because when we look at this, the school has got 700 learners. It's a combined school from grade 8 to grade 12. What we have found up until now is only at the high school level, and is also only concentrated only on the hostel learners who are residing in a hostel. But the investigation will also unpack that. Will go deeper to check as to when exactly did this thing started. Because at the stage nobody can confirm that when it started, but we can confirm that it is widespread, because all of these 17 learners are having this mark. And they've also indicated that there are other learners who are not now necessarily at school who have been doing this thing. So we're going to go deep on it. We're also going to put other measures that will make sure that we curb this kind of incident from happening in our schools.
Thank you so much for your time. Howard Ndaba is the spokesperson for the Department of Education in the Free State. Asking again, did you go through any initiation when you were in school? Perhaps even your children. Do you know of your children going through any initiation and your experience around that? 0614-104-107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
#SAFMBTH.
Catch the Insider SA this Monday evening at 6 as hip-hop star Kiddo CSA taps into the spirit of Africa.
So it's so inspirational.
Tenor Luvo Maranti and Lady Linda Davies join forces
to help young talents to be seen in the world.
And lending his bark to the campaign against bullying, canine celebrity Mr. Miyagi is a ferocious force for good. That's the Insider SA, Monday at 6. Repeat Saturday at 12 p.m. and Sunday morning at 10:30 on S3.
Open the Absa Cash Invest Tracker account and earn the best rates in the market. More than the top 10 money market funds' average returns. Enjoy unmatched advantages at an interest rate of 8.9% per annum. Plus, if you open your account today, you could win your share of 15 million rand in luxury travel experiences for two. Yes, you heard right. A trip for you and your partner. My Bank does that. Open yours today in less than 5 minutes on the banking app at your nearest Absa branch, or consult your private banker or call 0860 111 515. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
It all comes together with a great partnership.
Thank you for demonstrating that indeed you are proudly South African.
Africa Borwa witnessed a great Rugby World Cup France 2023 because of your incredible support.
Great friends, great prize, and great sport.
Asibonge Casalaga. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
25 minutes after 4 o'clock, we're in conversation next with David Ritt, who is an economist. So the latest inflation figures have come in higher than expected by most economists at 5.9%. The inflation figure is now at the upper end of the South African Reserve Bank's target of between 3 and 6%. The impact of inflation was felt the most by consumers, where there's been a rise by 0.9% month to month, and this is due to the panic buying of certain food items such as chicken and eggs as a result of the avian flu outbreak. Other contributing factors include the cost of transport due to fuel price. The question that consumers will have is whether these results will impact the outcome of the Reserve Bank during the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which is scheduled for tomorrow. This is now the announcement coming out of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. It is expected to be announced tomorrow, as the repo rate will be announced by the Reserve Bank Governor. David Ritt now joining us on the line. David, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Did this surprise you at all?
Good afternoon to you. Yes, I was a little bit surprised. I thought the inflation will accelerate a little bit. Remember, there are some other technical factors also contributing to the rate of price increases or the inflation rate, like, for example, so-called base reasons. But I did expect a bit of an acceleration, but not to 5.9%. That came as a bit of a nasty surprise. I thought it's going to increase about 5.6 or maybe about 5.7. 5.9% is certainly higher than what I've expected.
The last time the Reserve Bank Governor gave the outcome of the MPC meeting, he said that we are targeting the middle range between 3 and 6%. And now seeing that we are at around 5.9%, what do you expect tomorrow?
Yeah, the Reserve Bank's got two jobs. The one is to force inflation lower with monetary policy. Let's call it a mechanical way of getting inflation lower. And they do that by increasing interest rates, for example, making it more expensive for people to borrow money. And if there's less borrowing in the economy, that means less spending in the economy. And in the process, inflation is forced lower. I call this a mechanical force down of inflation to wherever you want it. In this case, we want it down to 4.5%. But there's another reason why the Reserve Bank, another channel through which the Reserve Bank tries to affect inflation, and that is through inflation expectations. And that is perhaps even more important, because inflation expectation means that everybody expects inflation to be going up, everybody expects prices to be going up, and therefore prices keep on going up. And what we have seen recently is that inflation expectations generally still is above 6%, but the Reserve Bank, by keep on talking tough the way that the governor has been doing, they actually manage inflation expectations gradually lower, and that's what we've seen recently. It's still about 6%, like I've said, but it is gradually coming lower. Now that we have inflation at where it is currently, close to 6%, I think that's water under the bridge. I don't think the Reserve Bank is very much concerned about what happened in the past. They are far more concerned about what can be expected over the next couple of months. And there are certain factors that are certainly contributing to expectations being for inflation to be lower. One is that last month we saw quite a nice drop this month, a nice drop in the petrol price, and we can expect another quite nice drop in the petrol price next month, and some food prices also eased a little bit. So I think inflation is going to go down a little bit from here onwards over the next couple of months, and for that reason, I think the Reserve Bank is likely to sit on their hands. But it is important that inflation remains below 6%. It's close to 6% now, which is a bit of a shocker, but it is still below 6%, and in the next 2 months or so, inflation should ease a little bit further, and that's the reason why I expect the Reserve Bank to sit on their hands tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, just another quick one, Darby,
Yeah.
and this is on the two-pot retirement system, and I just want to ask this question on whether there is a possibility that if you release 1/3 of that retirement to an individual, and I remember the Reserve Bank governor speaking about how, for instance, if you look at state employees and how their salaries have increased at a higher rate than what was expected, and that also contributed to inflation. Could there be a possibility at all that if you release the 1/3 of the retirement savings, that it could also lead to inflation?
Yes, I'm afraid that is probably going to contribute to inflation in the economy. I did mention demand in the economy. Inflation is basically a result of supply and demand in the economy. If you increase demand, and this is indeed what this is going to lead to, a sharp increase in demand, more money available in the pockets of consumers, and that is likely to boost short-term inflation as well. So, but there are many other downsides to this two-pot system that will apparently come into effect early next year. But yes, the sudden increase in demand in the economy is likely to boost inflation, at least in the short term.
Thank you so much for your time. David Ritter is an economist. 0614-104107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. And our studio line is 086-000-2032. It is 4:30, time for the news headlines with Leanda Maome.
Thank you, Aldrin. In your headlines, the Public Enterprises Department says the ongoing load shedding is very worrying for the country. Eskom has announced that it has implemented stage 4 load shedding until further notice. The Powers and Privileges Committee has recommended that the 6 EFF MPs should be slapped with a 1-month suspension from Parliament without pay, effective from the 1st of February next year. The affected MPs include Party Leader Julius Malema, the second in command, Floyd Shibambu, Marshall Dlamini, Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and Vuyani Pambo. And an opposition MP in Ghana has apologized to the Manchester United defender Harry Maguire for comparing his performances to the government's mismanagement of the economy. The country has been struggling with inflation at over 35% and mounting debt. Details on these and other stories at 5 with Greg House for SAFM News. My name is Leanda Maome, and I'm out.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And let's get a traffic update with Robin.
Quite slow around Pretoria, the M1 north and south, roadworks and lane restrictions near Rigel, so north from Botha Avenue and southbound a backlog from around about Atterbury Road. N1 running north that slow today from Buccleuch all the way through basically to Samrand Road, top of Midrand before you're out of that. And it looks like an issue on the M1 south after the Willie Mandela exit to Four Ways, just down by the, the Grosvenor Bridge, coming from Sunninghill on your way towards Four Ways. That is all jammed today. Durban has been another day of one broken down vehicle after another on the N2 due south in the construction towards Spaghetti Junction. There's no hard shoulder on the left to pull those vehicles off, so they just sit there and reduce the lanes even further. At this stage, the breakdown pushing traffic right the way back to Queen Lundy Drive. M4 Southern Freeway queuing from the CBD, from the city centre, all the way down to the M7 Bluff exit. And Cape Town today, some heavy pressure on the M7 heading into Mitchell's Plain. Queuing pressure as you line up to get towards Samora Michelle, and some load shedding around the Table View, Montague Gardens and Boortasach areas. And you can certainly see some delays there, particularly around Dunoon, Malabongwe, Potsdam Road and the N7 very slow. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
And Pirates responding to the sentencing of Thembinkosi.
Absolutely. They've even gone as far to say that they've suspended Thembinkosi Lodge from all club activities until the 12th of December. This is obviously following his assault case sentence from yesterday. In a statement, Pirates says that they handled the administration of justice in a way that they avoid double jeopardy, where players would be punished twice for the same offence. And the club also says that it will continue with its internal process, and no further information was given on what will happen from the 13th moving forward. So, Aldrin, as you were asking yesterday, what is the club doing with regards to this? They're actually saying they're taking this matter very seriously.
Okay, so what does it mean?
So it means that we're not going to be seeing Thembinkosi Lodge play until the 12th of December, but we're waiting to see or hear what will be happening afterwards. And with the club saying that they're going to continue with internal process, I'm assuming it's a disciplinary hearing of some sort.
Okay, so there's actually action that they will be taking, and that's the thing about it, is that then what message does it send, right? About, and as the conversation that we had yesterday with Paul as well, that Pirates had been clear that they stand against gender-based violence, and what message does this particular statement now send to the broader public as well as supporters of Pirates?
But they did come forward while he was still on trial.
Yeah.
That they took him to, I think, therapy or something, and he had to do a couple of hours there. So we're just yet to hear from the club what else they're going to do moving forward. But I assume they're going to keep it internal.
Yeah. What I want to say, that what I appreciate is that they're not pretending like it didn't happen.
Yeah. True.
So having the statement being sent out as well is actually Pirates saying that we acknowledge what has happened, and we'll have our internal processes and decide what should be happening next to Thembinkosi. Because after all, it is also about the reputation of the brand Pirates.
Absolutely. Well, still staying with football, SAFA Technical Director Walter Steenbok says that they will soon be visiting South African players residing in Europe as part of an expedited international scouting strategy for overseas-based young talent. For the past several years, data has been collected to introduce new South African players born in Europe or shipped to Europe, and some of these players have since been integrated into other young national teams, and Steenbok says that they want to extend this program in 2024.
I think short term, Velile, and this is critical, is that somebody like Prince Obayeni, we've got to give him credit, is somebody that I'll also be working with closely. There's a planned trip that I want to take with him on a short-term basis. Maybe now starting in Scandinavia first, and I'm glad also the association has also agreed, and it's also budgeted that we are going to do overseas scouting in 2024. So we'll be going to Finland, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, because that has also been a hub of some of the exceptional young players that we have.
In the meantime, although he backs SuperSport United to be among the favourites in the CAF Confederations Cup, coach Gavin Hunt has admitted that their participation in the interclub tournament has him a bit worried. Matsatsanza have been drawn in Group A alongside USM Alger from Algeria, Modern Future from Egypt, and Sand from Libya by the name of Al Hilal Benghazi. Hunt says that traditionally SuperSport have struggled for form in the DStv Premiership, where they've made it this far on the tournament.
We're in a tough group. We got 3 North African teams, but I think if you have a go at it, but I just have. If you look at SuperSport, what happened to them the last time, they almost got relegated, and they got to the final. I don't know if you remember that. I was with Eric, obviously talking about it now on the course, and he said, obviously, it's not easy, and you go for it on the continent, and then you suffer your domestic form, and that.
Elsewhere, Manchester United defender Luke Shaw has returned to training after a lengthy injury layoff. The left back sustained a muscle issue in the early weeks of the season, but is back in full training ahead of Sunday's Premier League clash with Everton. In boxing news, South Africa's Kevin Lerena is a firm favourite when he goes in against Germany-based Sanat Gashi in a clash for the interim WBC Bridgerweight title at the Emperor's Palace near Kempton Park on Saturday night. Lerena will be the first South African fighter to challenge for a WBC title since Dingaan Thobela stopped Glenn Ketley on the 1st of September back in 2000. And should Lerena win, he will be the co-WBC Bridgerweight champion with Poland's Lukas. And moving on to golf, Tiger Woods will play with his son Charlie at the 2023 PNC Championship in Orlando, and that's happening between the 14th and the 17th of December. They return to the PNC for the 4th time, and Team Woods will be looking to improve on their best finish of T2, finishing tied for second in 2021. Then in motorsport, Mick Schumacher will race for Alpine in the World Endurance Championship next season while continuing as Formula One reserve driver for Mercedes. Now, Mercedes confirmed separately that the German who raced for Haas in Formula One in 2021 and 2022 will continue as their reserve, and Alpine said that the crew lineup for the two cars would be announced on the 7th of February. With that said, it's a wrap from my side. For SAFM Sport, I'm Dumi Kapele.
Well, there's a quick question here that just came in via WhatsApp. It's unsigned. The person wants to know about Thembinkosi Lodge. Is it only Pirates or the PSL? Why is the PSL not saying anything, or why is the PSL silent? Do you know whether PSL has issued a statement?
No, the PSL hasn't issued a statement as yet. However, I'm sure they're just saying because he's an Orlando Pirates player, the club needs to deal with him directly.
The club needs to deal with him.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
For credible and comprehensive coverage of South Africa's fast-moving mining industry and the people shaping it, click through to Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. From policy and innovation to market-moving trends, Creamer Media's Mining Weekly keeps your finger on the resources pulse. For even deeper insight, subscribe to our new look weekly magazine, out every Friday, together with engineering news. Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. Current, credible, comprehensive.
Did you hear that? That's the sound of lights being switched off to reduce the impact of load shedding. Eskom is encouraging you to use less electricity at all times by switching off electrical appliances and lights that are not in use. Cell phone chargers, TVs, and decoders still use electricity if they're not switched off at the socket. You see, if we all switch off what is not in use, our combined effort could help reduce the impact of load shedding. Let's work together by switching off to reduce load shedding.
Have you ever noticed how unique the rugby ball is?
You should check out Head High.
The rise of junior rugby stars Mana and Tai.
Vince is not just their stepfather, he's their coach.
Catch the brothers' dream of the black jersey, Head High, every Sunday at 9 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
# Rugby Drama Galore. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it's time for a market update with Malkwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Malkwe Fund Managers. Malkwe, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Let's look at Rhodes Foods Group annual results.
Afternoon to you, Adrian, and to your listeners. These are your Bull Brand Magpie Pisto Gravy guys. Their revenue, Adrian, is up 8.7%, driven by price inflation of 12.9%. As they continue to recover the high cost increases of the past 2 years. The other lucky guys, they're able to recover those costs, and slower consumer spending and competitor promotional activity resulted in volume pressure. Volume declined by 8.3%, but was partially offset by foreign exchange gains, and they've seen net cash flow generated from operations increasing by a whopping 59.8%. That was due mainly to the improved profitability, and the net debt to equity improved to 21.3% from 36.2%. 14%. Return on equity improved to 14.9% from 12.5%. Profit as headline earnings per share up 35%, just like their dividend per share. But their diesel cost to operate generators totaled 65.7 million a year.
And tell us about local and international market developments.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM,
Well,
weekdays
apologies
3
for
to
that,
6
Malcolm.
p.m.
Just give us those updates again.
Adrian, the US Fed officials were unwilling to conclude that they were done raising interest rates. That's when they made that last interest rate decision. As we know, they paused. The guys want more evidence before changing their rate stance, and these sentiments are somehow shared by some of the UK and European Union officials, as they think markets are running ahead of themselves by thinking interest rates will be cut as from the first or second quarter of 2024. Tomorrow we'll hear from our own central bank, and locally our October consumer inflation accelerated from 5.4% to 5.9%. Markets expected an increase to 5.5%. Remember, the Reserve Bank target is anything between 3 and 6%. And the recent rally that we've been seeing, lifting the likes of the stocks and the bonds, is seen by other market participants as more of a year-end rebound, not a turning point, as they're still concerned about fiscal and monetary policies, noting that next year is presidential elections, not just in South Africa, also in the US, India, Canada, Germany, Russia, and among others. And the yields are continuing to fall today, and that is lifting stocks. And oil prices are tanking as OPEC rescheduled their output meeting by 4 days without giving a reason for the postponement. Meeting is to be held now on the 30th of November. There's some rumor, Adrian, that Saudi Arabia, which is the de facto leader of OPEC, is not happy with other members' output numbers. Brent crude is down whopping 4% at $79 a barrel, and bets that the US is pausing rate hikes is supportive of the yellow metal. But the fact that the very same rates will stay elevated for longer is keeping the gains. We see gold itself is up 0.1% at 2,000, platinum down 1% at 926. The DAX is up 1%, up 0.4%, FTSE down 0.1%, the Dow is up 0.3%, S&P, just like the GSE, up 0.5%, with our resources doing most of the heavy lifting, up 1%, industrials up 0.7%, but our financials are down 0.5%, and the rand is 18.73 to the US dollar, 23.38 to the pound, and 20.37 to the euro.
Thank you so much. That's Markwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Markwe Fund Managers. Let's take your voice notes on 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. And our studio line is 086-000-2032. Actually got a lot of responses to the question about initiation happening at schools and personal experiences as well. We'll read some of the WhatsApp texts as well as some of the X's that came through.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
Aldrin and SAFM listeners, my initiation process went like this. I was sent by grade 11 learners while I was in grade 8. They sent me to the vendors at the school to go and buy 10 Rand fat cakes with a piece of paper that's written 10 on it, and I was given a face break to go and buy with that, and that was a car, so I had to be fast. Remember, you have to kneel down on the ground, going as if you are driving a car, and everybody was laughing at me at school. Came back home, told my brother, and my brother went with a sword and knives and a couple of his friends. Gangsterism happened. Guys were stabbed to death. People were injured. So I'm still sorry up until today about that, because that still goes on up until today.
Yeah. Can you see how violent it can become? Listen to this. Bele on X as well says, yes, I had initiation in high school in grade 8, but it was never violent, nor did anyone get hurt. Could this violent behavior be a microscopic representation of how violent our society has become? And this one from Atli Khoro, who says that with my stubbornness, I stopped bullying both in high school and the university residences. If refused to be bullied and pay protection fee, I got into a fist fight with the bullies and was suspended, but the bullying did stop.
Hi, Aldrin and the SAFM listeners. What do you expect about the Marcela Coco and others? No one is going to prosecute them. It will be just a case over the case over the case. Those people are the ANC cadres. Those people are the ANC members. Remember, even the courts belong to the ANC. You like it or not. It's just like to show us off that, we can like calling these people in court, but they will find no evidence. Who want to risk his job? Here at the Kuruleni.
Hi, Aldrin. Yeah, no, it was not a perfected transaction. I think for now we should go by that. It was not a perfected transaction. Enjoy your day, guys. Toodles. Bye-bye. Tot ziens.
Thank you. So this text on WhatsApp says, it's a bit long, so please bear with us. It says, hi Aldrin, I remember at my high school when I went to Standard 6 in 1991, there were students who used to do that, and they used to call that ukufikisa. Yes, it was not good because someone decided to quit school. For me, this happened when I was in primary school, when this guy who was older than us, he used to take our money for lunch, and if we did not have money, he used to bite us. The fear that this guy instilled in me was such that even if I met him outside school hours, I used to run away. Looking back, all I can do is laugh when I think about these things. Yeah, all you can do now about it, I guess, is laugh. But back then, it is a form of bullying, and also your dignity being impaired at that particular moment. And listen, you're still a child, and you're still in school as well. So that bullying issue also a big one. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. I'm Svito from Guatemala in Springs. People shouldn't celebrate Marcela Coco's striking off the roll case as if he's been vindicated. No, it's just that NPA is delaying to bring the evidence, which is what Jacob Zuma was intended when he was hollowing out the NPA. NPA is no longer capacitated to tackle sophisticated and complex cases such as that one of Marcela Coco. Marcela Coco and Brian Molefe had brought ESCOM to its knees. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086 000 2032.
The only talk radio afternoon drive show that makes sense. Beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear, right here on SAFM.
Well, we're in conversation next with Bertus van der Wyver, who's the General Manager Residential at MTN South Africa, to speak to us about MTN Superflex, which is described as a month-to-month SIM-only mobile plan where you have the flexibility to choose how much data you want, but what sets it apart from existing mobile plans in the market. Bertus, good afternoon, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. Thanks for having me.
So tell us what inspired MTN to introduce the MTN Superflex and what sets it apart from existing mobile plans on the market.
Yes, so whatever we do at MTN, we really start with the customer in the center. And when we spoke to customers, they told us that, they love having recurring benefits, and prepaid customers typically said, they wish they can be on contract because they can get all these recurring benefits every month. They don't have to worry about running out of airtime, etc. But then they also said, we don't like to be, locked into contracts, and we don't want to kind of go through all the schlep of having to be credit vetted, etc. And that's where we start to say, well, let's find something, let's build something that really provides customers the flexibility of saying, I've been on prepaid for all my life maybe, but I really want to get the benefits of being on a plan that provides, really, really good value, but at the same time getting the flexibility of saying I can change when I want to, and, if I can even cancel or unsubscribe when I feel like it.
I guess that then speaks to the personalization that the MTN Superflex offers.
Yes. So what we've done is when we spoke to customers, they said they don't really like the idea that the mobile operator kind of tells them what they need and how the plan should be built. So we said, let's go and enable customers to really customize or build their own plan. So we kind of started with a baseline that says, people don't want to worry about making calls anymore and am I going to pay for it or not, etc. So we said, let's start, and the baseline says you get unlimited calls and SMS to any South African network as a standard. And then on top of that, customers can say, I would like to add data. Do I like 10 gigs of data? Do I want 15 gigs of data? Do I want 20 gigs of data? And, you can really add and change that as you need, So some months where 10 gigs of data is fine, that's cool. But if you may be going on holiday and for a month or two you're going to need a little bit more data, then you just go into the app and you just change it. And then for 2 or 3 months you're going to be on 20 gigs of data. And after that, if the budget's a bit tough, you can switch it and change it to a lower value. So really centered around the needs of the customer.
The other thing about the fixed term contract as well is, of course, the mobile data. Not the mobile data, but the mobile device and getting the latest mobile device that normally comes with some of these fixed contracts. How does the MTN Superflex then address that particular challenge?
So when we spoke to customers said, the customer would like to choose themselves when they would like to have a phone, all right? And keeping in mind that, the bulk of South Africans actually buy their own phones, and it's just the minority of customers that's on contract that are kind of, have to get used to this 24-month cycle or lately 36-month cycle. So what we've done is said, if you want to join Superflex and you already have your own phone, that's fine. You just continue like that. If after 2 or 3 months you say, I would like to have a phone, you go onto the website, you say, let me add a phone. And if it's a new customer, it's simple. The customer can just say, well, which phone would I like to have? And they pick the phone, and as they pay, they can pay it on their credit card. So no prescription on when you want to have your phone. If you want to have a phone every year, that's fine. If you never want to have a new phone, that's also fine.
And looking into the future, how will MTN Superflex adapt to changes in consumer needs and preferences if they look ahead into the future? And what can customers expect in terms of the ongoing innovation?
Yeah, so what we found is customers saying they obviously they're using their phones for calls and really the unlimited calls is really an attractive proposition for customers, and because it comes from only $2.99, that's really the unlimited calls, unlimited SMSs, and 10 gigs of data. That's a very good deal. But where we're going as well is saying we're going to allow customers to actually go and add their own content. So as a part of our launch proposition, we're saying for the first 6 months, customers can actually get the Disney Mobile subscription on us. So we pay for it, and at the end of the 6 months, if the customer wants to continue with it, they can opt in for it, and if they don't want to continue, that's also fine. So just another reason for customers to say, I'm using my phone for WhatsApp and for Facebook and whatever, but more customers are using it for content, and this is just the first step to say, we're giving Disney Plus content for the customers for the first 6 months, and over time we will add other content partners to it as well.
And how does MTN then ensure that the MTN Superflex is accessible and affordable to a wide range of customers, including those with varying budgets?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, not all customers have maybe the solid, clear credit rating profile and scorecard that maybe is sometimes required for customers who want to be on contract. And what we did with Superflex, we said there's actually no paperwork, there's no credit rating required. So that really makes it accessible for people that maybe historically had some credit issues. And we're saying that's not an issue with Superflex. You join, there's no paperwork, no credit rating. You just put in your credit card details, and on a monthly basis, your subscription fee will be paid. So that really makes it accessible for people that don't want to spend that money and maybe had some credit issues in the past. And then at the same time, customers that are wanting to use 15 or 20 gigs of data on their smartphone, at the $4.99 or $5.79 a month, that is really good value, considering that you actually get unlimited calls with it.
The final one, the security measures that are put in place to protect the customer's personal and financial information, but also perhaps any deals or details that you can share with us about upcoming partnerships?
Yes. So I think firstly is, Superflex is exclusively available online. So and the reason why we did that was customers told us that they are very, very comfortable buying online. Customers go and they buy their food online. They kind of go and, Black Friday, they go to online stores and buying their stuff there. And customers said it's really seamless. So I think that's the first thing. So we made it available online. But what's really important is for customers, when they go and they join Superflex, we need to make sure that when the customer provides their credit card details, that all the typical bank authentication is required. So if you're going to go and put in your credit card details there in order to pay for your $2.99 monthly fee for Superflex, your bank will always still validate that so that we don't go and take money from your account. It always goes through the normal validation processes. And also, we also allow customers to join Superflex even using the old or the existing prepaid number. So customers, when they come and they say, okay, I would like to be on Superflex, and we'll ask them, would you like a new number or do you want to keep your old number? And if you want to keep your old number, again, we send OTPs to the customer to really make sure that we're dealing with the right customer. And if we go and deliver, again, all the typical courier delivery controls with regards to ID documentation, residential proof of residence, etc. So really making sure that we protect the customers at point of delivery as well as for payment.
Thank you so much. That is Bertus van der Wyver, who is the General Manager in Residential at MTN South Africa. And this is on MTN's Superflex. Let's quickly take a break. And after that, it is the news.
Black Friday is back at Dis-Chem. Now for 9 days. From Wednesday 22nd to Thursday 30th November. Make the most of big offers and huge savings. Act now and get a massive 30% off Maybelline Fit Me Matte Plus Poreless Foundations. And get a jaw-dropping 40% off Revlon Photo Ready Candid Foundations. Get down to Black Friday at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Score big with Diadora South Africa, and your soccer team could soon face your opponents in Diadora gear. Show off your love for the game and gear up for victory. Join the competition now for a chance to win a full soccer team kit, a goalkeeper kit, and accessories. All you have to do is follow at Diadora.South-Africa on Instagram. Tag your team and teammates in the comment section of our posts. The competition closes on the 30th of November at 2 p.m. T's and C's apply.
# we love it here.
This great initiative is supported by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng.
When something is in the heart, you really don't need to be checking as if it was something that was designed to facilitate your appointment. One of the things that I promised the nation was to make sure that transformation happens, with a view to ensuring that work is somewhat evenly distributed among whites, black people, and both black and white women. That is the one responsibility among many that I have pursued with everything within my heart.
The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
SAFM, leading the conversation. Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Government speaks on load shedding and a warning over Black Friday scams. Good day to you. The Public Enterprises Department says the ongoing load shedding is very worrying for the country. Eskom's announced that it's implemented stage 4 load shedding until further notice. Just before Eskom could present its 2022-2023 financial year statements in Parliament, the Deputy Minister of Public Enterprises, Obed Bapela, said the power cuts are a cause for concern.
The energy available
factor is a worrying issue. Load shedding is a worrying issue. We have warned them that this might rise from the floor, even though we are dealing with the annual report and the annual financial statements. But the current moments, issues of the moment will arise naturally because it's a worrying factor, obviously, the load shedding. And there were questions, Chairperson, as to when are you ending load shedding? I said that one will be answered by ESCOM.
The Power and Privileges Committee in Parliament has recommended that the 6 EFF MPs should be slapped with a 1-month suspension from Parliament without pay, effective from February next year. The affected MPs include Julius Malema, Floyd Shivambu, Marshall Dlamini, Mboiseni Ndlozi, and Vuyani Pambo. The committee is expected to draft a report with the proposed sanctions, which will be tabled before the National Assembly for final approval. The EFF MPs were found guilty of gross misconduct and contempt of Parliament after storming the stage during the President's State of the Nation address. Committee Chairperson Violet Soela.
The penalty with respect to Mr. Malema is that in order to apologize to Parliament, to the President of the country and the people of South Africa in terms of Section 12, subsection 5C, physical in person in the House. And then again, another order is suspension of the members without remuneration for a month, starting from the 1st of February to the 29th of February 2024 in terms of Section 12, subsection 5B and with Section 12, subsection 9.
It's now been confirmed that the body of a woman has been recovered at the Klip Rivier in Olifantsvlei, south of Johannesburg, by Johannesburg Emergency Services. A 21-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman are washed away during a cleansing ritual on Saturday. Emergency Services spokesperson Kolele Kumalo says it remains unclear if the body recovered is one of the 2 missing young people.
The search and rescue teams have recovered a body of an unidentified female in the Klip River on the N1 bridge. We're not certain whether the body is that of the 2 young persons that allegedly drowned on Saturday evening in Olifantsvlei. We will release a statement as soon as we have further details.
As Black Friday approaches, the SA Fraud Prevention Services warn consumers to be wary of scams online. Black Friday takes place this coming Friday. The head of product development at the services, Nazia Karim.
The scammers will make use of posts online, on social media, and ads on social media, as well as targeting consumers via phishing calls and smishing messages, offering potential victims goods and services or even vouchers. But we also need to keep in mind that we're going into holiday season, so travel scams are also going to be coming out quite prominently. But sadly, we're also going to see a very large increase in loan and phishing scams. And the problem with that is consumers are looking for access to funds to help buy the specials or take advantage of the specials that are taking place right now.
An opposition MP in Ghana has apologised to the Manchester United defender Harry Maguire for comparing his performances to the government's mismanagement of the economy. The BBC's Will Ross has more.
During his apology, Isaac Adongo said the Manchester United defender Harry Maguire was transformed and had become a key player for his team. The Ghanaian opposition MP was less kind a year ago when he said Maguire was a liability who helped opposing teams by scoring own goals. He caused laughter in Parliament, saying Ghana had what he called its own economic Maguire, as he blamed Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia for high inflation and mounting debt.
Top story, the Public Enterprises Department says the ongoing load shedding is very worrying for the country. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
Coming up in your sports this hour, La Liga boss resigns to run again in new elections. Spar Proteas set to face England, and Lorena and Gashi meet for interim WBC title. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If driving Mbombela and Mpumalanga on the N4, the ring road section around the top of town, there is some blasting scheduled for now, so that'll close that section of the ring road for a little bit. Expect some delays there. Into Gauteng we go with busy conditions on the Mike 1 today from Melrose all the way down into the Crown Interchange. N3 North from Germiston up into Galuli stays slow. Stationary vehicle on the way there. And if you're leaving Sandton stuck in some traffic, there's been a crash on Rivonia Road near Outspan Road in Morningside. And that's quite heavy as you come out of the central Sandton area. Durban, still two big queues going southward on the N2 between Queen Nundy Drive and Spaghetti Junction. That's a breakdown. There's also a big backlog on the M4 that we've been talking about from the Victoria Embankment CBD exit right down to the M7 off-ramp. And there's a crash on the N3 at Pavilion Mall, and that traffic backlogging through to sort of Tollgate Bridge territory. The run on the N3 out of Durban to Pinetown very heavy. And Cape Town, a crash on the N7 North opposite Dunoon. It's before you get to the Malabongwe Drive exit. Traffic is parked back beyond Plattekloof Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg.
Good afternoon, this is your captain speaking with just a little flight information. We're flying at an altitude of 37,000 feet and our airspeed is 400 miles an hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BTH Airline. I'm your co-pilot, Aldrin Sampear, and I'm with you from 3 to 6, flying you through the turbulent airwaves. But the landing will be smooth.
So just sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the flight.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
0614104107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086 0002032. So coming up on the show in this hour, as you may have heard in the news bulletin, is that the Justice Committee has recommended that Judge Mutata as well as Justice John Hlophe, that is the Judge President of the Western Cape High Court Division, that they be impeached. So we will be speaking to Judges Meta on this particular development that has taken place. Just tongue-in-cheek, I just saw now that Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF, he tweeted John Hlophe, and in brackets MP, meaning Member of Parliament. And you'd remember, of course, with the Busisiwe Mkhwebane, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, after she was impeached, she became a fighter and she became a Member of Parliament for the EFF. So what are the chances of having a John Hlophe becoming a Member of Parliament? So we will be speaking about that particular story in the next short while, as we look at the developments that took place in Parliament. 0614104107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086 0002032.
Well, the bullying do not only end at high school, even at varsity level. At Natal University in the 90s, there was this group called the GTI, get them intimidated. They used to bully people around, and one of the guys was with us in the engineering class, math and engineering physics. One day we had different of opinion with him. Then the other day I was walking across from Tower Anglo Res going to Anselme to see my friend. They cornered me. I was held by the back that I had because I had a Hewlett Packard calculator, and they thought it's a gun when I pulled it out. 5 of them, they dispersed. And later on, they wanted to follow me up. But I had to buy a big butcher knife and cover it in the stick so that in the class it's not seen. It was terrible because they used to bully people around. And one day I met one of them and told him, look, I was born in Alexander. I grew up in Venda. I'm here for studies. And if you mess up with me, we will fight. Gorin Polokwane.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. Ngamo from Centurion. With regards to initiations happening in school, I think certain traditions, it's okay for us to do away with them, hey? Because they do perpetuate bullying, and generally it's the ones in inverted commas who are perceived to be the weaklings or the ones that don't have older siblings within the school system who get, even more bullied through under the guise of initiation. So I think it's perfectly okay to do away with certain traditions, especially when they no longer serve their purpose, and especially in the era of mental health awareness and child suicides increasing. I don't think it's fun. So let's do away with certain traditions, hey?
Nkamo, I can tell you right now that there is a listener out there who's listening to you and say, you see this thing? They're making these children to be weak. They are weak, you know? We used to go through these things in school, and it made us stronger. And these children have just become too weak. That's why they always speak about mental health, and they speak about depression and so forth. The children are just becoming weak. But anyway, there are some people who hold those type of views. But you can't remove the element of bullying from the initiation and also the humiliation that comes with it as well.
Good afternoon, Adrian, and the listeners. This is Anonymous in KZN. Our justice system seems to always fail us as South Africans. This Thembinkosi Lodge incident, if it were an ordinary South African just like me and you, who doesn't have money, is not well known and doesn't have money, we'd be in jail by now. Just because this guy, I don't have a thing against him, but just because he's a celebrity and he has money, he gets given his order to pay a fine. Our justice seems to fail us a lot, man. This is not right.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
It is 13 minutes after 5 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Alison Tilly, who is the coordinator at Judges Matter. Parliament Standing Committee for Justice has recommended that Judge John Hlophe and Judge Nkola Mutata, after committing gross misconduct, that they be removed. This is after the Judicial Service Commission sent a report to Parliament on the impeachment earlier this year. To help us unpack this development, we are joined by Alison Tilly. Alison, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Good afternoon.
What do you make of what played out in Parliament today, and also the argument that was brought forward by EFF Member of Parliament, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, that Judge, and in the case of Judge President John Hlophe, that he is appealing the matter and therefore he should be allowed the space to do so, and he should also be getting the funding that is required for the legal challenge?
Well, I think the argument is that, as I understand it, her argument is that the process in Parliament should wait. But of course, there's no end to the number of legal challenges that you can bring. If that was true, the Parliament would never be able to move on issues like this. There's no reason for delay. The Justice Committee have looked at the findings of the JSC. They can't do their own separate inquiry. They're really only able to look at the JSC's findings and then send them on to Parliament. Maybe if there'd been a major procedural flaw, that would have been an argument for saying that the report couldn't go forward. But there's been no finding of a procedural flaw, so forward it goes, and Parliament will then have to vote on it.
And then on the case of Judge Nkola Mutata as well, is this has been a long ongoing matter as well. And I guess with the case of Judge President John Hlophe, it's the same case as well. If you look at the issue dates back to around 2008. What are the lessons then that should be drawn from this particular experience with these two judges?
Well, I think they are pathfinders in a way. They've really been the first judges who've tested the conduct system, although Judge President Hlophe to a larger degree. And what they've done is they've challenged most parts of the judicial conduct system. And I think what we know now is that a lot of the challenges that they brought didn't succeed. They've certainly appealed the matters as far as they can take them. I think that what that ends up meaning is that the subsequent conduct matters that are coming through now are going to be dealt with more quickly. It's still very slow, and that's something that the JSC and that Parliament certainly need to look at.
Okay. And then now that this matter now goes to the National Assembly and there will be a vote on it, what does this then tell us about the process itself? Also that if the JSC has made a recommendation that a judge should be impeached based on the disciplinary proceedings and their findings, what purpose does it then serve to take this matter through Parliament as well, where, for instance, with the committee that's set down, all the committee can really do is deliberate, as you said, on the report and forward the report to the National Assembly?
Well, I think you have to remember that we really strive to protect an independent judiciary. So we make it quite hard to remove judges. You've got to go through the process through the heads of court or the Chief Justice, the Judicial Conduct Committee. You probably, if it's a serious matter, have to go to a tribunal. At each stage, as I've said, matters can be appealed if you're unhappy with the process. And it's really only after all of that has been exhausted can it come to Parliament. And even when it comes to Parliament, you have to get a 2/3 vote in order to be removed. And that's deliberately so, that if you're targeting a judge because they're independent-minded, they're handing down decisions you don't like, it's a process that's intended to protect judges. And only in cases, as we've seen, with gross misconduct or gross incompetence, incapacity, that's only in those such situations that judges will be removed.
Yeah. After the judges, if they are impeached and there is that 2/3 majority, what then happens to them and what happens then to their pensions?
Well, it goes to the president if there is that resolution. The president doesn't have any latitude to disagree. The president, it's a formality. The president must remove from office. The judges don't get a pension exactly. They get a salary for life. And if they are removed, we keep using the word impeached, but it's actually removed, as judges, then that salary stops.
So that salary just stops like that?
It does, and I think that was one of the issues that was raised in the committee this morning, is that should that be the case? I think with both judges, they have been receiving a salary since the instances in, I think, as you said, 2007 and 2008. They've had their legal fees paid for. The salaries, I know judges complain about them, but they're not terrible. At this point, the judge president is earning over 2 million rand a year, and Judge Matata is earning over 1.8 million a year. And they've had all this time where they've, been suspended on full pay. So it is true that their salary is going to stop. But this is in a situation where there is gross misconduct. And I think both of them have been aware for many years now that this is something that could eventually happen. And hopefully they've been paying into pensions or retirement annuities on their own behalf.
And nothing bars them from taking up any other paid work?
Well, I think they might have difficulties, for example, going to the bar or becoming an attorney, because to be admitted, you would have to be a fit and proper person. And here you would have been found guilty of gross misconduct by Parliament. So I think that would be a hurdle. It wouldn't be a hurdle to doing something like writing books or doing talks, being on the speaking circuit. So there would be a number of options. But I think Judge Matata is nearly 80.
Yeah.
I would imagine he's either retired or very close to retiring. That's not the case for Judge President Hlophe, but there are certainly options which are outside of the immediate profession,
including being a member of Parliament, based on that tweet from Julius Malema.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But politics is strange.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
Very, very.
No, I don't think so.
It is very, very interesting. But also, I was saying that listening into the arguments this morning from the committee members, especially from the ANC side, and considering, for instance, that at some point you had ANC MPs and ANC members, of course, who were at the defense of Judge President John Hlophe, and that was during the time when Jacob Zuma was still the president of the country, and that complaint against Judge President John Hlophe emanates actually from a matter relating to investigations into corruption allegations against former President Jacob Zuma. Very interesting times.
They are, I'm afraid, and we better just get through them as best we can with the Constitution as our guide.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
That is Alison Tilley, the coordinator at the Judges Matter. 0614-104107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032. So there you have it, Judge Nkola Mutata as well as Judge President John Hlophe. The recommendation from the Standing Committee of Justice, of course, based on the JSE's Judicial Conduct Committee's report, is that they should be removed as judges. That matter now goes to the National Assembly. There will be a vote on it, and then if there is the 2/3 vote that adopts the report, it gets sent to the president, and the president will then have to essentially fire both of them, and means the end of them as judges. 0614-104-107.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime with SABC TV Licenses Ultimate Competition. Feel the pulse-pounding excitement of a Bundesliga match live on an all-expenses-paid journey you'll never forget. Or embrace the rhythm of your dreams at the Coachella Music Festival. The choice is yours. A football fan's paradise or a music lover's haven. Simply pay your TV license, then head to www.winnerholidaywithsabctvlicenses.co.za for a chance to win big. And don't forget, there are incredible weekly prizes up for grabs too. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Mzansi, we thank you for what you did yesterday, today, and what you will do tomorrow to meet your tax obligations. By submitting your income tax returns on time and keeping your personal and banking information up to date, you have made your tax matters daily matters. Our gratitude as SARS is immeasurable. We thank you for contributing to our country's prosperity. Visit sars.gov.za to keep your details updated. Your tax matters. SARS at your service.
Nothing beats the exhilarating atmosphere of Joburg's hottest horse race. This is the People's Race. It's not just sport, it's a lifestyle with a great sense of fashion and a jubilant scene to party and celebrate. Experience the Summer Cup on Saturday, 25 November at 3:50 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM invites you to our inaugural public lecture, delivered by the former Chief Justice Mogoeng. The theme of the lecture is constitutionalism and upholding the rule of law in South Africa. Has corruption and malfeasance eroded the moral fabric of the democratic dispensation? The lecture will take place on the 29th of November 2023 at the SABC M1 Studios in Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
SAFM, leading the conversation. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
It is 26 minutes after 5 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Aldrin Sampear, who is a senior policy advisor at the Association for Savings and Investments SA, who argues that the decision made by Parliament to implement the two-pot retirement system next March is a fundamental change to the South African retirement fund landscape. She argues that its implementation should be handled with the great care to ensure that all retirement fund members are treated fairly and afforded the opportunity to consider the impact of the changed landscape on their individual financial affairs. And Audrey now joins us on the line. Audrey, good evening. Thank you so much for making time for us. Do you think it's really possible to implement it on the 1st of March?
Good evening. It is not possible. It is practically not possible. If you consider the law has not been finalized yet, lots of things have to happen after the law is finalized. If the law is finalized in January, that's 2 months. It's not practically possible.
And considering all of the time that we lose out now with the festive season, of course, as well.
Yes. Okay, so I think what is important to note is that our members have worked relentlessly to be as prepared as they can be with the information available in the draft law. But there's still lots of uncertainties that haven't been clarified. And we are also eagerly awaiting amendments to the Pension Funds Act. The Pension Funds Act must also be amended along with the Income Tax Act for the whole of the two-pot system to work. So if the Income Tax Act is finalized and signed into law early January, which could be possible, that is 2 months. Then we still don't have the Pension Funds Act amendments. Then we need to understand how our members' systems will need to be integrated with SARS after they've, changed all of the complex systems that with the final details that will be in the final law. And the FSCA must approve fund rule amendments for thousands of pension funds to facilitate the two-pot system. So the practical reality is, no, it's not possible in that short amount of time.
Because SARS makes a similar argument, Treasury makes a similar argument, but the members of Parliament are arguing that actually, no, it must be implemented on the 1st of March. What sort of difficulties do you think do lie ahead if we do rush the process? I know that the conversation has been happening over and over again and the deadline has been pushed down. I think we went through at least 2 or 3 ministers, finance ministers, dealing with the two-pot system. But this is where we're at currently. And now the committee is saying that it must be implemented by the 1st of March.
If I can just then take a minute or two to look at the practical realities. So, on the 1st of March 2024, there is an expectation that a fund member should be able to walk into or to go to their fund and say, please, I want to make a withdrawal. If the calculation of how much they can withdraw cannot be done, then there is no value for that member to withdraw. If SARS cannot communicate how much tax the administrator must deduct from the withdrawal payout, the withdrawal cannot proceed. So it's the practical realities. We understand that there is urgent relief needed and members need, they've anticipated this change for such a long time, but without the law and without appropriate time to make sure that those calculations of the values are correct, that the correct tax is deducted, that the members will receive the correct value of their money, that it will be allocated going forward into the savings component and the retirement component properly so that withdrawals looking forward will be dealt with appropriately. It's very difficult. It's very complex.
Very difficult, very complex. Thank you so much for your time. That is Aldrin Sampear, who is a senior policy advisor at the Association for Savings and Investment. It has indicated that the Treasury, as well as SARS, has said that it is practically impossible to implement the system in the next 5 months before the 1st of March, or by the 1st of March 2024. They had said at least the 1st of March 2025. And this decision by the committee has been welcomed by COSATU, that said this will provide a welcome relief to millions of highly indebted workers in both the private and public sectors who will be able to access limited portions of their pensions without having to resign from their jobs nor cash out their entire funds. It's a minute after 5:30, time for the news headlines with Greg House.
Thank you. A look at the headlines. The police in SARS have confiscated counterfeit goods worth an estimated 100 million rand during a raid in Cape Town. The Cabinet will discuss the motion on the closing of the Israeli embassy that was adopted by the National Assembly. And the Public Enterprises Department says the ongoing load shedding is very worrying for the country. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
And let's get
just
a
update if you're on the
final
N1
traffic
heading
update
through
with
Midrand. Yeah, thank you. Just an update if you're driving up through Midrand today. It's a reasonably heavy queues. There looks to be an obstruction just around the Samrand Road exit. The traffic has been busy this afternoon, but as we come live, it's actually quite heavy. So Beclue right through to Samrand on your way to Pretoria is the damage there. Crash on Benoni's N12 at Tom Jones, pushing traffic back as far as the Snake Road exit. Durban's had some real traffic delays today. For example, if you're driving in from the airport towards the South Coast, you'll sit between Mhlanga and Gateway on the N2 South. Then you'll sit from Queen Nandi Drive down to a breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, and then you'll sit from just after the M7 Bluff exit all the way down to the Higginson Highway off-ramp. It really is very slow, and there's some queuing pressure on the N3 out towards Pavilion Mall if you're leaving Durban towards Pinetown this afternoon. Cape Town, a pedestrian collision on the N7 North at Dunoon. That appears to be cleared up. That traffic seems to be moving better than it was earlier. And big queues again today on Marine Drive, backing up all the way from Pardon Island through Milnerton, all the way out to the second set of lights at Sunset Beach. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
And a final sports update from Tumi. Well, what's happening in La Liga?
Well, so much is happening. The La Liga president, Javier Tebas, has resigned from his post in order to run again in the upcoming elections. The league said in a statement today that an electoral commission will be appointed in a process starting immediately. Tebas is currently the only candidate for the elections without a date as of yet, aiming for a fourth consecutive mandate. Meanwhile, Orlando Pirates have suspended Thembinkosi Lodge from all club activities until the 12th of December, following his assault case sentence yesterday. In a statement, Pirates says that they handled the administration of justice in a way that they avoid double jeopardy, where players would be punished twice for the same offence. The club also says that it will continue with their internal process, and no further information was given on what will happen from the 13th moving forward. In Nepal, the Spar Proteas will travel to the United Kingdom next week, Monday, where they will play Scotland in a practice match before taking on England in a 3-match test series in December. This will be the third time that these two nations meet up. They met up in January during the Quad Series, drawing once and England winning their playoff match. And England have all the bragging rights as they are yet to lose against South Africa this year. In rugby, the Sharks are participating in the 16 days of activism to raise money and awareness to tackle GBV from the 25th of November to the 10th of December. For every tackle the Sharks make over 3 matches played during this period, money will be raised through Tackle Pledge and donated to non-profit organizations that assist women and children who are victims of GBV. In boxing, South Africa's Kevin Lerena is a firm favorite when he goes in against Germany-based Sanat Gashi in a clash for the interim WBC Bridgerweight title at Emperor's Palace on Saturday night. Now, Lerena will be the first South African fighter to challenge for a WBC title since Dingaan Thobela stopped Glenn Ketley on the 1st 1st of September in 2000. And should Lorena win, he will be the co-WBC Bridgerweight champion with Poland's Lukasz Rozanski. Then in golf, Tiger Woods will play with his son Charlie at the 2023 PNC Championship in Orlando. Now, that's between the 14th to the 17th of December, and they're returning to the PNC for the 4th time. Team Woods will definitely be looking to improve on their best finish of T2, finishing tied for 2nd in 2021. With that said, it's a wrap from my side. Don't forget to tune in to Top Sport with Michael Abramson. That's from 7 till 8 p.m. From my side, Dumin Khapele, Mudi Mugyo.
#SAFMBTH.
Get your payments done with the utmost security and convenience when you purchase a TV license now. With our new secure payment systems with a one-time PIN, OTP feature, and the choice of receiving your OTP via SMS or email, you can ensure prompt and secure payments. The additional use of capture will protect you against spam and automated data attractions. With TV licenses, you can enjoy watching all your favorite shows or movies that matter to you. Get yours today. Visit www.tvlic.co.za. Rand Water is concerned about the significant increase of water consumption in its areas of supply. The increase in water consumption is putting severe strain on Rand Water's distribution network. To save water, please do not wash your cars with hose pipes. Use buckets. Water your garden with sprinklers between sunset and sunrise. Do not wash your pavements with hose pipes. Use brooms. Repair your leaking taps. Cover your swimming pools to avoid quick evaporation. Shower instead of bathing in a tub.
This message is sponsored by Rand Water in partnership with City of Joburg, City of Ekurhuleni, and City of Tshwane.
Score big with Diadora South Africa, and your soccer team could soon face your opponents in Diadora gear. Show off your love for the game and gear up for victory. Join the competition now for a chance to win a full soccer team kit, a goalkeeper kit, and accessories. All you have to do is follow at diadora.southafrica on Instagram. Tag your team and teammates in the comment section of our posts. The competition closes on the 30th of November at 2 p.m. T's and C's apply.
#We love it here.
This great initiative is supported by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it's time for a market update, MoneyWeb market update with Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, good evening. Thank you so much for making time for us. What's coming up?
Good evening, Aldrin. Good evening to the listeners. On today's show, we take a look at the new Investec platform that they're aiming to launch to rival the Easy Equities platform. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we covered the Easy Equities launch of that 25 Rand loyalty fee, platform fee, whatever fee they want to call it. So we take a look at Investec. They've come out to say that they're launching a platform for retail investors to rival this. So we hopefully will see what that platform will allow investors to do or invest in or trade, and we get a sense of what's happening there. We chat to MassSmart as well. Black Friday is coming up on Friday, Cyber Monday the Monday that follows, and we're chatting to MassSmart around what they're doing in terms of Black Friday deals, how they're getting ready for this. Those that haven't been keeping up with Black Friday, I don't know where you've been living for the last couple of years, but Game was one of the first companies in South Africa to bring Black Friday specials, and then obviously expanded beyond just one day to 1 week and even to 1 month. And so the MassSmart group that covers Game, Macro and Builders has a couple of specials this week. So we just take a look at what they're doing differently this time around. We speak to Alan Gray around optimism within African markets. We take a look at some of the investment cases within Africa. We know that we've seen a lot of tech startups or an increase in tech investment within the African continent, but also in general venture capital investment on the continent has been on the rise. So we just take a look at what the picture looks like from a continental level, whether South Africa is still the best placed country on the continent, and some of the mechanics around that. And then because it is a Wednesday, we've got an executive feature, and I'm joined by the general manager of the Carey Group to take a look at what the Carey Group is up to on the continent. The general manager for Sub-Saharan Africa, that is. So we'll look at South African business, the KZN plant that they finished, I think it was last year, as well as what they're doing on the rest of the continent. But before we get to that, markets have been moving. The inflation print that came out today was not a good one for us, but we've had Henko Creer keeping an eye on the markets for us. Good evening, Henko. Thanks so much for keeping an eye on the markets. Rand not reacting as positively to that inflation data. We're now back towards 19 Rand.
Yes, Jimmy, good evening to you and Aldrin, and good evening to all the listeners. Yeah, Jimmy, unfortunately, a sharp increase in our inflation data, and that inflation figure that came out earlier today. So not good for the Rand's strength, unfortunately. At least we can say that the oil price, or the Brent crude, is moving in the right direction if you want to compare that to the Rand strength and look at possible fuel price increases. But let's see how the JSE closed today, and the all-share index finished 0.5% stronger, and it closed at a level of 74,764 points. Then the resources index finishing 1.5% up, which was nice to see. The industrial index finishing 1% stronger, but the financial index finished 0.5% weaker. If we have a look at some individual stocks that had a great day or gave strong performances, those were AB InBev, British American Tobacco, and Richmond. Each finished 2.5% stronger. Prosus gained 2.2%, and then Naspers and BHP finished the day 1.7% stronger. Unfortunately, Standard Bank lost 1.2%, but other companies that had also didn't have such a great day as Standard Bank, those were Redefine, finishing 6.5% weaker. Sasol lost 4%. Thungela and the MTN Group each lost 2%, and Investec, Pick n Pay and Coronation finished the day 1.5% weaker. But then back to the positive side of things, Sibanye-Stillwater came back with vengeance today, and after the huge loss and the stock price almost plunged yesterday, today a lot stronger, 8% up. Amplats and Kumba each finished the day 6% stronger, and then Goldfields and DRD Gold each gained 3%. If we move over to the commodities market, the price of gold, $1,998, an ounce just under $2,000, silver trading at $23.60, platinum currently trading at $922, and palladium currently sitting at $1,050. Brent crude, like I said, moving in the right direction, and now well below $80, sitting at $78 a barrel, but unfortunately the Rand losing quite a bit of ground today, and now trading at 18 Rand 85 to the US dollar, 23 Rand 50 to the pound, 20 Rand 50 to the euro, and 12 Rand 30 to the Australian dollar. A Bitcoin will cost you $36,400, and that's more or less 691,000 Rand. And if we have a look at what's going on in the US at the moment, with their stocks currently trading about 0.5% stronger, but European stocks closed in the mix a short while ago, with the FTSE 100 in London losing 0.3% today, and the DAX and the CAC 40 finishing 0.4% stronger. Jimmy, that is how the markets performed today. Let's see what happens after today's inflation print, but more importantly, after tomorrow's interest rate announcement.
It's not looking good. Thanks for that update, Henku. It's not looking good for South Africa's side. I mean, that inflation print and those interest rates, I am concerned. But I'm going to choose to see the positives in that the oil price coming below $80 a barrel is the first time we've been there in such a long time. And hopefully that is going to be enough to not concern the central bank tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be enough to get them to ignore the CPI print, but we'll dig into some of these stories just after 6 p.m. For now, Aldrin, we're going to cross back to you and the team, and we're going to catch up with the listeners a little later on.
Thank you so much. Jimmy's back again just after 6 o'clock. We're taking your calls on 086-000-2032 and your voice notes on 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Gautrain is for the legends who make moves to save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield. It's for the bozzers who switch off the geyser when no one's home. And for our clever who get that there's food at home means exactly that. So when it comes to travel, make moves that save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield Station. Gautrain, for people on the move.
Mzansi, we thank you for what you did yesterday, today, and what you will do tomorrow to meet your tax obligations. By submitting your income tax returns on time and keeping your personal and banking information up to date, you have made your tax matters daily matters. Our gratitude as SARS is immeasurable. We thank you for contributing to our country's prosperity. Visit sars.gov.za to keep your details updated. Your tax matters. SARS at your service.
Ah, nothing beats the exhilarating atmosphere of Joburg's hottest horse race. This is the People's Race. It's not just sport, it's a lifestyle with a great sense of fashion and a jubilant scene to party and celebrate. Experience the Summer Cup on Saturday, 25 November at 3:50 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The only talk radio afternoon drive show that makes sense. Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear, right here on SAFM.
Let's take your voice notes on 0614-104-107, and you can also drop us a call on 086-000-2032.
Good afternoon, Mr. Aldrin Sampear and your team Jumbo Africa. Hey, we can't listen to your show, Mr. Sampear. Load shedding. The thing is started again. Minister of Electricity promised us on December there will never be load shedding. But now we're experiencing stage 4 and they switch electricity more than 6 hours a day. This guy, they're failing us, Mr. Sampear. They're failing us big time. Now we're not listening your show. Gosh. It's fine. It's Percy in Matlosan.
Sorry, Percy. Actually, today, the minister, was it the minister saying this today or yesterday? Okay, no, it was Eskom actually, appearing before Parliament, that we should have an energy availability factor of 75% only in 2020, only in 2025. And by the way, apologies to our listeners as well. The load shedding has also affected our studio line, so we've been struggling to get a hold of some of the listeners, or those who are able to get through. Unfortunately, then the line then gets cut. 0614-104-107.
Hey, Aldrin, so we are now gonna know what is it that the CFO has done? Which law has he broken? Because the president had dollars most in his house and the police did not arrest the president. He was not even suspended. In fact, police went on a covert mission. So what's wrong with the CFO carrying money? And it's actually rands, it's better, it's rands. And it's his money. So what's wrong with that? I think this needs to be explained because the police are very hypocritical. Why are they arresting the CFO? Shame on them. Thanks, my name is Bongi.
Maybe Bongi because they believed that it was suspicious, and in this particular case, with the president's example, for instance, it is the president, it is a business that is being run, and that's the reason why the transaction was not perfected, and therefore no requirement on the manager of the farm to actually declare the $580,000 US. Let's go to Hicklo's, who's joining us from, is it Boschhoff, on the two-pot retirement system. Good evening.
Good evening, Aldrin. The story of when they say that the stars and whatever, they come up with all these formulas of...
Hitler, is it possible to, do you have us on loudspeaker?
No, I'm not on a loudspeaker. I'm using a Jaraga, a 289 Nokia phone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, the line isn't clear, but let's try.
Yes, but let me tell you something. Aldrin, you can't have an omelette without breaking the egg. No, they should stop telling us about SARS and whatever. Let them give us our money. I've been working for close to 17 years, but I'm still highly indebted. So they want us to go back to the Mashonisha. Let them just give us our money. We're not borrowing that money from IMF or whatever. Let us stop coming with all these formulas of economic SARS and whatever. Just give us our money so that we can go and settle our debt and have a healthy life. So I don't buy that story of saying that, no, the SARS and whatever. Those people who are coming with all these formulas, they are living on an easy street. We are starving. We need that money desperately. They must give it our money. We cannot steal that money. Just like these other high-profile politicians, whereby they go around with 600,000 rand and whatever, 650,000, whatever. Just give us our money. You can't get an omelette without breaking the egg. Let them break the law so that they can give us our money.
No, they can't break the law. They shouldn't be breaking the law, Hitler. They shouldn't be breaking the law.
It's our money.
Yes, I get you and I understand you, and I'm fully behind you on it as well. But some of the issues that are being raised, for instance, is as it's just been explained now by Adri as well, is the tax system that needs to be put in place, and also how SARS will be calculating the tax returns, the income tax that you'll have to be paying on that withdrawal. Let's go to Mbuyiso again. Mbuyiso, let's hope that the line is much better now. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Aldrin. Aldrin, I just wanted to make a comparison because I had made my input earlier on. So let us compare Andre de Ruyter and Matjela Koko. One has direct evidence that linking him to sanctioning an investigation that was not authorized, and the other one, there's no direct evidence. The other one is charged, the other one is not charged. The other one is facing multiple charges and is before the court. The other one is let scot-free. He bombarded us with stage 6 of load shedding for 3 years or 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Where's the fairness there, Aldrin?
Yeah. And I don't know if even from the Intelligence Inspectorate Directorate, if they are going to be lodging any charge against Andre de Ruyter, or even investigating, because as it has been made clear, that when you want intelligence gathering, you cannot do that as a state department, a private entity even. You need to actually get the go-ahead. I think even the president gets involved. Do you remember the matter of SARS? The spy, it wasn't the spy tapes. What were they called again? The SARS matter. But anyway, yes, I get the point that you're making now.
Yeah, so is it that because the other one is linked to the dominant faction and the other one is painted with the so-called state capture narrative? Anyway, let it play out.
Yeah, thank you, Mbuyiso. It's actually the rogue unit that I was trying to remember, but thank you for the call, Mbuyiso there from Soweto. 0614 104 107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Good afternoon, Adrian. Hey, Adrian, what is wrong if the CFO is found with that kind of money in his car? What is wrong? Why he was arrested if he was found with that kind of money in the car? South African rands. What is wrong? Why he was arrested? He's Moses from eThekwini.
Aldrin, this is quite laughable, really. I mean, 600K, you arrest someone, but if you find, dollars, stacked somewhere in my house, there's nothing done. There's all sort of, explanation, flying around. But this is laughable, really. Call me Binoni.
Okay, hello, this is Nonde. I want to comment on Nokoko. It's not out of the woods yet, right? It appears that the NPA did a shoddy job, right? But this case was struck off the roll. It does not mean that he's not guilty. It will be re-enrolled again, right, once they've got enough evidence or further evidence. And then this thing will be rolled again maybe sometime next year, right? And then The show begins. It's not over the woods yet. Aldrin, afternoon and goodbye.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
We've come to the end of our voyage. Thank you so much for choosing Flight SAFM BTH 326 with me, Aldrin Sampear. Today we are playing out with Lebo Matosa Free, and our parting shot is from Jessica Hine, who once said, "Work hard, do what you know is right, learn from your mistakes, dream big, and invest in yourself." Invest in yourself. Nkamo from Centurion is reading our credits this evening.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for a wonderful, wonderful show as always. We've got Aldrin Sampear, who is behind the mic, Dumi on the sports desk, the production team, Temba, Kanya, Vusani, KG, and Katu. Let's do this again. Same time, same place tomorrow. Have a lovely, lovely evening. This is Nkamo from Centurion signing out.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
And remember to love each other and lead with compassion. Dotsins, enjoy the rest of your evening.